No show Nick Stone.
It's the 4th day of October 2015, and this is the Radical Agnostic 30th episode spectacular. Our guest did not show up.
No show Nick, no show Stone.
So it's the three of us. It's me, John, your host, my co-host Mark, and Bryan, the stowaway guest.
Howdy.
There's so much to talk about, so there'll be nothing to worry about, folks. Nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. Move along. You're wrong. Move along. You know what? Last night something very frightening happened, and so to begin this very special episode, we're going to have a segment of anger management with Christine Richter.
Yeah.
By way of Bryan. Bryan, what happened, man?
So, like, it's funny how far stupid shit will go. Just dumb shit. We met Granger and Shayla for dinner at Sweet Tomatoes, and then we were leaving. I'm taking care of Matt's house. So we're driving down Broadway, and Christine tries to make a lane change, and couple tatted up folks yell at her a bit, flip her the finger.
From their car? From
their car, yeah. They speed up to cut her off. It's one of those things where you put on your turn signal and you try to get over, and then they speed up to cut you off, and then they cuss you out a little bit, and fuck it. So I actually say the words out loud. It's a good thing. It's a good thing we're going to let that go.
So they get ahead of you.
So they get ahead of us, and she speeds around this truck and gets up beside him and gives him the finger back.
Christine, your wife?
My wife. My lovely wife. And then she pulls in front of them, and so they proceed to follow us around town. Like, chasing us around town, basically. So I can see, like, I know the dude in the passenger seat, like, had a bandana around his neck, and he's all tatted up, and he looks, like, if I was stereotyping him, he looks the gangbanger type.
Right.
So they're following us. We make some turns through the neighborhood. Christine decides she wants to call 911. And it's the last time I'll ever fucking let her do that, because they were no goddamn help. But that's the end of the story. So she's talking to 911. They're like, well, you have to call us when it's actively happening. She's like, yeah, it is actively happening. That's why I'm fucking calling you. So she's like, I think we might have lost him. So she's like, okay, we have it on record. Call us back if it happens again. So we turn down Swan. We're getting ready to head home, and the motherfuckers end up back behind us, right on our bumper. So we get in front of this car where we figure they can't.
No, this is a man and a woman
that I can see in
Hispanic
the front seat
in their car. And then, is there anyone else in the car?
I can see two heads in the back seat, but it's tinted pretty dark, so I can't see good. So I'm like, okay, so now I got a girl and possibly up to 3 dudes chasing us around neighborhoods in the car. It's me and my wife, and I told my wife, I quoted Joe Rogan in the car. I said, Christine, this is one of those instances where a person who can't fight picked a fight.
Meaning the guy and the girl in the car? Or
no,
her?
Meaning my wife.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just picked a fight, and now I have to fight these people, and I don't even know how many guys are in this car or what we're fucking dealing with. And obviously they're mad because they're chasing us around town. Okay? So when they get back behind us, she gets back on the phone to 911, and I'm watching them in the passenger side mirror. So as they pull in behind us, I see the dude in the passenger seat has a bandana up over his face, like only his eyes are showing.
Now that's freaky, man. Right?
Yeah, well, dude,
that's what you do when you're about to do something that you don't want to be identified for doing.
And wait till you hear the story that this fucking stupid cop was buying from that fucking fool. Wait, unbelievable, man. I never wanted to smack somebody so bad in my fucking life that I couldn't. So when I see that, I'm like, oh shit, man. This isn't even a fight. This is a gunfight. Like, you don't put on a mask to fight somebody. You put on a mask to do something worse.
Now you're thinking he might start popping shots through your car while you guys are still driving around.
Exactly. So I'm like, I just commit to action right at that point. I'm like, you have to change the terms of the engagement. You have to take the aggressive stance now. Don't let him dictate what happens from here. He's got the mask on. He intends you harm. They've chased you. You lost him. They found you again, and now he's got a fucking mask on his face.
Right.
So I jump out of the car, and right as I'm bringing the gun up on him, a cop pulls up beside us, and so I'm like, this motherfucker's following us, and he's about to get shot. And but right away, I'm the fucking bad guy, and I'm like, my wife's on the phone to 911 right now. So she stupidly hangs up the phone when he tells her to. I would have stayed on the phone with him. But so we all pull over. They take my gun. Next thing you know, they're all questioning me. The story that this fucking dude tells the cop, he had his face covered because their air conditioner was broke, and he was trying to stay cool.
What?
He's like, well, he was sweating. I'm like, yeah, I bet he is. And I'm like, what are you saying? That you believe that story? That he covered his face because he was cold? And I'm like, he covered his face because he was hot? I'm like, I cover my face for two reasons: because I'm fucking cold, or because I don't want somebody to fucking see me. And
it's like saying I went off the high dive because I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah, he's actually saying that. And so I get to talk to a reasonable guy, and I'm like, let me ask you something, dude. Do you think they called 911 at all? I'm like, we have 2 911 calls on record, and then they just called us back because Christine hung up. And I'm like, I'm the one who called you. I'm like, what do you think? You're driving around with your wife. A guy's chasing you around town because your wife and his wife exchanged middle fingers. They pull up behind you. What you see is a carload of people with what, as far as you know, have masks over their faces. What are you thinking?
So the cop has your gun. Does he take it apart, disassemble it, and everything?
Well, they break the magazine down, take that out, and everything. But
now, who turned out to be in the opposing car?
So there's this guy, probably early 30s, tatted up, about my size. I'm gonna tell you right here and now, dude, that sloppy motherfucker's lucky we didn't get to fight because he got fucked up. But and his fucking disgusting ass wife, and then they had 2 like young teenage or like over 10 but young, and the kid was probably 13 or 14 but a big kid in the back seat with them. And I'm like, you're fucking chasing us around. And what was your intention? Like, so the cops, dude, after we've called for them, they let other people that they called come to their car, take stuff out. They take the kids out while they got me sitting on the curb.
Wow.
So they're like, you had a gun out while the cop was there. I'm like, I had the gun out before I saw the cop there. I told you guys I was going to defend myself on the 911 call. We communicated that. Like, they're chasing us. My husband's going to deal with them.
Now, if I were you, I would have been anticipating that the cop would have drawn his gun on you. Were you thinking that might happen for a second?
Yeah, for a second.
But
then he's like, so you had your gun out while the cop was there. I'm like, I flagged him down after I had already engaged. Those things were happening simultaneously. Like, I had already committed to action. I didn't see him. Then when he pulled up, he told me put the gun away, and I did right away, and we were cool. But I'm like, we called you, motherfucker. I called you, and now I'm the criminal. When this fucking asshole tells me that he had a bandana covering his face because the air conditioner wasn't working and he was hot, I'm like, dude, you should turn in your badge. Like, you shouldn't even be investigating anything. You're a goddamn fool. The other guy's like, so I asked him, I said, what would you think if a guy pulled up behind you? He said, I'd think it was going sideways. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And so he feeds me the line. He said, so you had reason at that point. You were worried about your life. And I'm like, wouldn't you be, man?
Yeah.
What do you think a dude with his face covered is about to do? What would you think he was going to do, Mark? You think something good's about to happen?
Probably not. I was trying to think of a smart answer.
You mean a smart ass answer?
Yeah. But dude, I'm going to tell you now. Like, I don't know if you can tell now. I still have a lot of anxiety about this because I really thought, bro, when I saw him pull up behind us with the mask up, I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually going to get in a gunfight.
Yeah.
I'm like actually going to have to shoot it out with these guys, and my wife is here.
Hide behind the door and take shots at him or something.
And you know what's weird, dude? That's not what I did. I'm going to take it to him. I'm going to take it to him. And so in one sense, I'm like, they're like, do you see where it was a bad decision? I'm like, I didn't know that anybody was coming to help me, dude. Like, I'm there by myself, and I got a dude behind me that looks the part. And he's got a fucking bandana covering his face. I seen enough TV. I watch enough news. I see how people act, man. So anyway, all's well that ends well. I go home, but I'm telling you, I won't call the cops next time. I'll just fucking deal with it myself. I'll tell them whatever story I got to tell them when they get there.
Now, I mean, on the other hand, we don't know if there were any guns in that car.
No, because they never searched it or anything.
Right.
After we made 2 911 calls
Right.
about crazy fucking people road raging and chasing us around town.
So my point is that there very well could have been.
Yeah.
And so something could have been bad, but in this case, the cops did help you and diffuse the situation.
Yeah, I thanked them all, too,
I mean,
honestly.
it was lucky that one was there.
Yeah, I didn't, and I said that.
But-
I'm like, dude, I'm glad you showed up, man, because I don't know how this was going to go.
Yeah. So, you know kind of what I'm saying with that.
Yeah,
Is that
I do.
I disagree with, a lot of people
But
say
but
you can
he's
never
also,
rely on the
well,
cops.
he's
but
also lucky that the cops didn't take him to jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have went that way.
super
They could have
lucky.
went that
Oh,
way.
yeah,
And I gotta tell you,
that's a
man,
good
I
point.
think they wanted to go that way, dude.
and that would be from his wife calling him.
Yeah.
If his wife wouldn't have called him,
I would have just dealt with it. Because I'm going to tell you what my plan was. Like, if he moved real fast, I was going to shoot him. But if he didn't, I was going to tell her to take the keys out and fucking hand them to me. And then I was going to throw them as far as I fucking could. And I was going to get back in my car after telling them, if you're behind me again, you're not getting this chance. I'm going to fucking shoot you.
That's scary, though, dude. If you were ready to shoot, if he'd made a fast movement.
You have to be, bro. He's got a fucking mask on and he's been chasing me around town. What are you going to think, bro?
Yeah.
Between me and you, what are you going to what are you, John Berger, with Paula driving? What do you think when you look in your rearview mirror and you fucking see in your side mirror and you see that guy who you lost once and has caught up to you again and is parked right behind you and he's got a
Honestly,
bandana covering his face?
I'd be 100% thinking that this was a threat to
Right.
my safety.
So luckily I got to talk to the reasonable cop. That other asshole who was buying that fucking dipshit story was talking to my wife. And as soon as I told him that story, because I gave him the names of every street we turned down. You know, bro. I'm like, we turned here, we turned there, we turned there. We tried to lose it through the neighborhood. They said they were following us trying to get our license plate. I'm like, dude, they sat behind us at the light on Columbus and Broadway for the whole light.
Right.
Then they followed us down Columbus. Then they followed us through the neighborhood. Then we lost them, and then they caught up to us. I'm like, couldn't they have had our license plate a few times? I'm like, I can't even believe you guys are buying this fucking story.
And if they're using the license plates for punitive action
Yeah,
against
where'd you write it
why
down?
didn't they call the cops?
Yeah, why didn't you call the cops?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You would call the cops first and read it off to the dispatcher.
Yeah.
The license plate.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't disagree with any of that, but just as an aside, I have had my face covered with a bandana because I had really bad allergies, or cold or flu or something, and I had to go out in
That's
public.
not the explanation you gave. It was because he was hot.
But I'm just saying. And then I had people coming up to me going, "Oh, you think you're hard? You think you're fucking tough?" Blah. I'm like, no, I think I'm sick, and I'm stopping my germs from infecting you.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus you're white, though. So it's more threatening when a brown person does it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh. Well, but these people thought I was trying to be threatening
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't know.
Just people downtown or
but
something.
Mark,
talking
were you chasing somebody around in a
No,
car
I
in a
wasn't.
menacing manner
Nope.
prior to that? No. So
I mean,
circumstances again.
Yeah. Although maybe I was walking down the street and somebody thought I was following them or something. You know what I mean?
No.
I have
Well,
people all the time tell me that.
this
Why
was
are you
legit.
mad? Why don't you smile? Why are you mad all the time?
You do seem mad all the
Well,
time.
maybe they read your posts on Facebook, bro. I mean, it might be just something.
We got it. Today might be the day to get to the bottom of Mark's psyche. The intervention.
That's a very deep hole.
Part of me wants to dive in. There's another good article by GQ this week about the Waco shootout between the biker gangs and the police in Waco. And what the author says is, 9 bikers died, like 20 were injured, and 177 were arrested, which those numbers don't quite seem to make any sense because only so many shots were fired or crimes committed, but 177 guys were arrested and given like $1 million bond, and a lot of them, couldn't fulfill that, and they're rotting in jail. Can I get one of those? Yeah. And
Sure.
So the author, anyway, we know very little about who actually shot who, because the cops have not been forthcoming about the results of their investigation, the sheriff's department down there. So a lot of people are theorizing. Bryan has been saying this from the start, that he suspected that the police initiated maybe some of the shooting and maybe shot some of these guys or all of them. And now what was happening was the Cossacks and the Banditos were there, and as well as a bunch of other motorcycle clubs.
Cossacks were uninvited.
And the Cossacks were uninvited, and you weren't supposed to bring 60 guys to the meeting. You were supposed to bring like 3 guys from each club.
Yeah, these meetings happen monthly.
Right. And they were not invited, and they showed up with 60 dudes, and there was some sort of an argument and a fight that kicked it off between the two clubs. And so...
they were kind of expected, I think. I know a guy in the community down there. That's why I'm saying he's in a veterans motorcycle club, and they're not just a small club, all ex-Marines.
Yeah, no, there's not tons of violence going on with these groups in recent times. The author of the GQ article says, quote, nevertheless, all the Cossacks interviewed by GQ for this story insist that they showed up that morning to make peace. And virtually every biker I spoke with last June and July, Cossacks, Banditos, and other clubs, 22 bikers in total, believes that the real blame for all the dead bodies belongs with the Waco police. Now, on one hand, it's not surprising that bikers are blaming the cops. They have patches that say, like, all cops should die. You know, like, they hate cops, generally speaking. So there's that. But one of the Cossack chapter president, John Wilson, he said these harried handgun fights are usually a pretty inaccurate situation. Headshots happen by mistake, if at all. Someone got lucky. To have that many guys hit with torso and headshots, in my experience, which I think was like 7 out of the 9 guys that were killed, I would say that indicates that you had trained people with long rifles and optical sights.
Rifle fire.
That's accurate, aimed fire.
Yes,
unquote.
it is. Not everybody's instructor zero.
Yeah, 7 of the 9 dead were headshots or chest shots. He goes, who trains for that? Who? So the plot thickens with that whole case. You know, I don't know if we'll ever find out anything. I mean, the sheriff's department, they can do what they want with the evidence and everything, so.
Sure sounds like I'm not wrong.
Yeah, you might not be. Okay, and of course...
That's a follow-up to an earlier episode, basically, right? Just
yeah.
like looking for closure.
Exactly, that's where the case stands.
We did talk about that. And it's an interesting case that they've wanted so much secrecy on their side of it. Initially, they're like, we're going to be totally transparent, and then they're like, nope, locking it down.
Well, the sheriff kept holding these press conferences the week and the week after, and that was very, oh, that's good, that's transparent. And then at the last one, reporters started asking, because
like basically about ballistics, like who shot who.
That
like
too, but also they were saying, weren't most of these guys completely innocent? And the cop was saying, no, and I won't comment further. Like, in other words, that all of them were guilty just for being there.
I remember how much cry on the left there was that they were getting off easy. There was a restaurant full of dudes who never came outside, never knew what happened, who got arrested for just being there.
Yeah, they were saying, if those were black gang members, they would have been in handcuffs on their stomach on the ground, I think was the point on the left. But who knows what would have, could have, should have,
Yeah, that's like the argument that says don't pay this guy a decent minimum wage because paramedics don't make enough. That's in the end, that's a horseshit argument. Like, shitty treatment is shitty treatment. It doesn't matter what somebody else would have got. It doesn't dampen the fact that this might have been somewhat unjust to arrest every person there, even people who weren't involved in the actual fracas.
Yeah, because
it seems like everybody who was involved in the actual fracas got killed
or wounded, at least. I don't know. I was kind of laughing because only among old dudes that are bikers could you have 200 people and none of them recorded on their cell phone.
That's true. There's nothing.
Only among old white guys could you have that many people.
Probably 80% of them don't know how to work the camera. Yeah. They're like, I don't have
They have to put on their reading glasses, and they're like, they just killed a guy and burned his body, and they're like, put on the reading glasses to look at the phone. Like, my grandmother told me how to get the email.
Yeah.
I think I have the email on this phone.
That's so true. Had it been a fraternity
Did I say grandmother?
You did. Granddaughter.
I killed my joke. So we got the Oregon mass shooting. That's a lovely thing to wake up to. For the whole country. We're getting sick of it. And people are getting numb to it, man. Now,
is it weird that I'm getting less numb to it? I feel less numb to this one than I have.
yeah, I think it
the
either
others.
makes you more angry and more wanting to fix it, or it makes you numb.
Well, because I think it's making me more angry because everybody has like this one shot answer to why it's guns, it's background checks, it's fingerprints, it's mental health.
Yeah.
Well, man, this clown would have passed
violent video games.
This clown would have passed a fingerprint check. He would have passed a background check. It's looking like there were mental health issues, but I don't think that's the whole story, man. And I've said that before. You know, this is a mental health issue disguised as a gun issue. Joe Rogan said the same thing. I think I might have even stole the quote from him. But I worked in mental health for 20 years, man, and it
Well,
might be more of
what
a
are-
vast
there's
majority.
a third option.
They're not dangerous.
Well, and
There's
what
a
are
third
you going
option.
to do about mental health?
Right.
Are you going to be like, okay, anyone that has ever seen a psychiatrist or psychologist, you
No.
can't own a gun.
No,
Anybody who's ever, you
no,
can't
don't
do that
don't
kind
don't
of
go
crap.
extreme. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
No, I'm
saying
not
is
saying
that
you're
is
saying
that most. But I'm
No,
saying
Mark's
they're
criticizing the people who are saying that it's a mental
the extremes,
health.
right? That are saying they should never be. They should have their rights taken just because they have a mental
Right.
illness. I'm not. That's not what
I
I'm
know
saying.
you're
at all.
not. I know you're not.
And I agree with you 100%. But what I'm saying is the availability of treatment. A lot of plans didn't cover it. I think Clinton made a law that changed some of that. They had to cover mental health treatment, but
Goes to the universal health care argument, doesn't it?
the funding gets cut more and more. When I first started in mental health, there were lots of outreach programs where we had people out in the community, like getting in touch with people who were kind of what we called at the time, I think the term was refractory, where they didn't want to be in treatment. So you were out constantly trying to engage them, but you had eyes on them, so you could see if they were deteriorating to a point where they were dangerous to themselves or they were dangerous to another. If their condition had progressed to the point where they were psychotic or they were in one way or another becoming dangerous, you had options available for them. There was money for it. There wasn't these short hospital stays, and you know that there's as many people as are in Pima County at the state hospital. We only have 30 beds. That's all we get allotted
Right.
for Pima County. So if we have people that really need to be hospitalized long term,
So the state hospital, for those who don't know, is for
long term committals.
long-term committals of people who are what we would call in the business crazy.
Yeah.
They're psychotic, dangerous.
They're one of four things.
Yeah.
By technical terms, they're dangerous to themselves, they're dangerous to others, they're persistently and acutely disabled, or they're gravely disabled. Gravely disabled is kind of like guardianship. Like there's really no coming back from
Right.
gravely disabled. That's a lot of dementia patients get that designation, and that's a court designation. It's like Title 36. So those people go to state hospital for long-term care because they can't be managed in the short-term facilities. There's not a lot of money for this in the community, for housing, for monitoring, for case management. Case managers have upwards of 100 patients.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but universal health care would encourage people to seek treatment more often.
It would make it
wouldn't
way
cost
more
anything.
Right, it would make it way more available.
Yeah.
So but as I was saying though, people chalk these mass shootings like the guys.
Yeah.
The pro Second Amendment nuts, man. They're like, it's all mental health. It's not all mental health.
Well,
That's not all it is.
And some of the guys on the right, like Jeb Bush and Bill O'Reilly, pissed me off because their approach was, there's nothing you can do about this. And they weren't even just talking about guns. They were saying he said stuff happens, Jeb Bush, which everyone jumped on him. He was just
It's a
talking
stupid
off the cuff.
off-the-cuff remark.
He doesn't
It's dumb.
he doesn't like
But-
mass shootings any more than anyone else. But
No, but I mean, stuff does happen, and you could live in as perfect of a world as you could make it, with as many laws taking freedoms away from people and locking stuff down as you could. When mental health gives much money and fund mental health and blah blah blah, guess what?
Stuff still will
occasionally stuff is still going to happen.
we were 100% agreed with you on that. What people would say is that since these incidents are increasing in frequency, that's worrisome.
But are they increasing in frequency?
Yes.
They are.
Are they?
Yeah, we've looked at some pretty fucking because John and I have been, and one of John's buddies, a guy who watches the show, Abe. Man, I like talking to that dude.
Abe's the best, man.
He's a level-headed, good dude, and thanks for listening to John's show, man. We've been sharing a lot of information and just different statistics that we've been finding, and that all kind of lines up. They're not.
But it makes sense because
there's not huge numbers, but they're occurring with greater frequency.
Well, did you see the things that I posted on John's? That was statistics, and one was from PolitiFact, which is completely unbiased, and then the other one was from some review, IJL
about
review
how they include suicide stats in gun deaths?
No, this is different.
What this was about was about gun deaths in countries.
Uh-huh.
And it was based. So
but what
you know
is
how
it, mass
people want to say
it
was
because you were trying to disprove Obama's.
It was gun deaths. So this is all gun deaths,
all gun deaths,
right.
including suicides.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so suicides, mass shootings, accidents, everything.
I believe everything.
Now, this is
and
a question
what it
John
said
had. Does it
was,
include police shootings as well?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know if it includes police shootings.
Okay.
But if it does include police shootings, then it's even more reason that people screaming for more gun laws, it's ridiculous. Okay, so this shows that the U.S. is not number one in gun deaths in this world.
No, we're not. I think El Salvador is, right?
We are, in one study,
or Honduras,
in the
one
political
of those.
fact thing, it said that we were third or fourth, and in the other one it said we were seventh.
And I think seventh is not even true. Like, I think we're much lower than that.
No, let me.
And gun deaths per 100,000.
Yeah,
there's a
it's
lot
gun
of
deaths per population.
Yeah.
I got it right here. Okay. El Salvador is number one in the world.
I knew it was
more
one of
than
those.
50 gun deaths per 100,000 people.
Honduras.
Close behind Jamaica. Close behind Honduras.
Yeah.
Down a little bit, Guatemala.
Notice the theme.
Swaziland.
Notice
next.
the theme.
Colombia.
Notice the theme.
Brazil.
Lots of poverty, all those places.
Panama beats us.
More.
Mexico beats us. Philippines beat us. South Africa beats us.
We're not even in the top 10.
And then there's us.
Well, we're too close
10
to the
or
top
whatever.
10 for how
Now-
quote-unquote civilized we're supposed to be.
Now, when you go to developed
that.
among developed countries, and they use the OECD ranking of
Right.
whatnot,
This is where we look real bad.
this is where we look bad. So if you're comparing us to countries like Canada, Finland, Switzerland, Cyprus, Chile, Spain, Hungary, developed nations, we are by far and away number one. And not only are we number one, there's a clear correlation in this chart between guns per 100 people
and gun deaths.
and gun deaths per 100,000 people.
Sure.
Now that is kind of actually
I mean,
a
that
duh.
really just
It's a
kinda
duh,
ma-
right?
yeah, that just kind of
What-
obviously,
because
right?
let's not forget that these numbers you guys are talking about, even the ones that I brought up, include suicide,
right,
and
right.
probably most likely include
Accident.
shootings by cops killing civilians. They
which we lead the world in by far.
So
Yeah, give them that fucking stat.
if you want,
Oh,
if you think that gun laws are going to stop cops from shooting citizens, if you think gun laws
well, they would a little bit.
are or even should stop suicides, stop people from taking themselves out, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to disagree with you on the reality that you live in.
If guns were less available, the police would have to shoot fewer armed suspects. Is that not right?
No, they can say he had a gun. We swear we saw him had a gun.
But over time, it wouldn't go down
Really?
a little bit.
I don't know. Are we? Is that what we're doing? We're doing the guessing game. Is that what we're doing today?
So let's lock it down then. What are you saying about this? The clear correlation here between guns per 100 people and gun deaths per 100,000.
I'm saying clearly
A big chunk of that is suicide.
Yes, if you read any of these things that are honest with you, it'll say the majority of gun deaths in this country, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the U.S. are suicides.
Now,
the majority,
yeah,
John.
okay.
So that means 6 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this,
well,
John. Just
okay.
on this subject,
Yeah.
because we remember some of the states that we looked at on
Yeah,
that chart, and we
yeah.
were surprised to see them up there because they're wide open states. I bet those are suicides. Lonely people.
Yeah, you and I were
that
thinking
live out
they
in
were
Wyoming, and
we were thinking they were
drunk-
hunting accidents
or drunk cowboys,
Yeah,
or
but it could be suicides.
because there's a lot of lonely people out there in the lonely places, man. Loneliness is the number one mental health problem in America.
So Mark, though, if
And again, let me just finish. So I don't have a problem with increasing funds to mental health. I don't have a problem with doing stuff to combat poverty. which I think if you do those two things, you might lessen suicides because people won't be so depressed. Give more drug treatment and alcohol treatment, and you might see a decrease in suicides, and then henceforth a decrease in gun violence.
Well, I'll tell
deaths.
you where I'm going to agree with you right here is that you're absolutely correct. If you improve living conditions for the average person, and you improve health care so that people don't have to, one, it's not unavailable, two, it's not unaffordable.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
So
you're going to
many
have a lot less suicides.
have to do with money.
So
many.
would we all three say that those two steps would make a lot more difference than more gun control?
Well, let's just say we agree that those are good steps.
Oh hell yeah!
So we've got that.
I think they would make more difference.
Because
we still have these other correlating statistics that violence overall still is decreasing, and on a steady decrease since the 70s. It's still going down. So
since the 90s.
So but
and are those two steps less controversial than gun control?
Yeah.
Well, they're both more humanitarian, I would think.
Well, they're definitely both more humanitarian.
Oh, they solve
but
other
don't
problems,
you think
too.
You could
many other problems.
Don't you think you could maybe get Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, whatever, more on board with...
at the risk of sounding biased, dude, I don't think you can get Republicans on board with anything that helps the poor right now.
Yeah, or anything that a Democrat supports.
And I don't think you can get Democrats to turn a blind eye to the guns right now to focus on something else.
Now, my question is this. That was a good question, Mark, and we should
talk
more
question.
about that. But I just want to nail you down on this because
I've pretty much nailed myself down. I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
No, I think honestly I'm pretty clear on where he's at.
I haven't answered.
Maybe if you let me ask it, you'd know. So the question is this: if a majority of gun deaths are suicides, all right, that's fine. Why does that make let's say a Democrat who's for more gun control? Why does that an argument against them supporting more gun control? Might that Democrat not say, I'd be happy if fewer people killed themselves?
Let me explain. I don't believe in the government telling you what you can eat for dinner. I don't believe in the government telling you how much soda you can drink. I don't believe in the government telling you how many packs of cigarettes you can smoke, how much booze you can drink, what drugs you can shoot into your arm or smoke in your lungs or do whatever else you want. And so guess what? I don't believe that the government has the right to tell you, no, you can't put that gun to your head and pull the trigger. I'm sorry. That's against the law. And if you try to do it, we'll have our cops shoot and kill you.
But
retarded.
But the government funding mental health to prevent suicides.
That's fine.
You don't mind that.
No, I don't have a problem.
But aren't
with
they
that.
doing something to? Aren't they meddling with your ability to kill yourself?
No, because you don't have to sign up for mental.
Well, they're offering you an
health.
option.
Okay.
If you want to do it, do it.
I think you could say, to play devil's advocate, I think you could say if they're offering you mental health care, they're offering you an option. They're not telling you that you can't.
Yeah. No, that
they're
makes
not
sense.
taking away any options.
Yeah.
And I think that would honestly align with your opinion because they would say, well, John, I know your opinion on the drug laws that the government shouldn't have any say over what you put in your body, and they could say, well, it's meth. There's all these overdoses, like it's killing people. That's why we have to stop it. And you say, hey, fuck you. And so I would say to this, I bet you drugs. But also, just let me finish because I bet you drugs and drug overdoses and drug and alcohol related deaths far outweigh gun deaths.
I don't know. Maybe.
And
I bet you more people die from drinking and driving from drug and alcohol related deaths.
Probably.
So should we go back to prohibition?
Yeah. And I'll guarantee that. And also I'll say that the majority of drug deaths, most likely prescription drugs, and then related to big pharma.
Now listen. A pro-drug legalization person can make and often does make this argument that if you legalize and regulate and package,
there'll be less overdoses.
There'll be fewer.
There'll be more education. There'll be more.
Exactly.
Right.
So, Mark was saying the other day that if you're a right, and let me finish. If you're a right to die person, so right to die is.
I was kind of following this conversation.
Right to die is an activist movement that says suicide should not be illegal, and assisted suicide should be legal, and so. Just like the drug legalization people, right to die people say, if you make it, and the abortion people, by the way, same thing. If you make it legal, you'll curb the botched suicides. You'll curb the number of suicides overall because you'll have a legal outlet for them to pursue, and then they'll have time to think about it and change their mind and talk to professionals instead of sitting in their cabin alone with a handgun.
And you may be able to offer them a service that they didn't know was available.
Right. So Mark was saying that it's illogical to be both right to die and pro-gun control. And I demonstrated conclusively. Now, I'm not pro-gun control necessarily. That's not me. I'm just saying it's not illogical.
There's a jump you did that you forgot. So I will explain that to you
Go ahead.
after you're done. No. You go ahead and finish your thought.
I
knew this was going to be a good fucking show.
I'll wrap it up. So my point is there's no contradiction between a right to die person who wants fewer suicides overall, probably, and fewer botched suicides and fewer desperate suicides because of the laws against assisted. They want less of that crap by making it their illegal option. So that person could also be pro-gun control. Mark was saying that since guns are used for suicides, right to die people should like guns being available because they let people commit suicide. And I was explaining to him, no, Mark, right to die isn't a pro-suicide movement. It's a pro-legalization movement, and it actually can be conceived as an anti-suicide movement because you would lower the number of desperate suicides. So there's no contradiction between being right to die and being pro-gun control. A right to die person doesn't necessarily want tons of guns to be available so more people can kill themselves. I'm an activist for people killing themselves, so pass out suicide pills and guns. That's not what they are. That's not what right to die is. So there's no contradiction between those two positions. And that's...
Yeah, I did follow this argument. I think I even commented on it like, man, this is going to be a good show Sunday.
Mark made me change my mind on something last week. It's happened before. I've done it. But on this one, and I'm waiting, and I very well like all those things. I could be sure that I'm right and end up being wrong. But on this one, I feel like I've nailed you to the floor, and you're just squirming and unable to admit it. There's no contradiction between right to die and pro-gun control. Explain why I'm wrong.
Well, first off, I didn't say that there was a contradiction. I said that, in my mind, right to die and trying to ban guns are two illogical beliefs.
They're
just on their
illogical bedfellows.
Yeah, illogical bedfellows.
Well, illogical on their own or illogical bedfellows?
Illogical bedfellows.
Okay, why?
Now, the reason I say why, and I'm not trying to say that the majority of the right to die people believe this way or don't believe this way or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know what the right to die movement wants or is attempting or anything else. I know how I feel.
There's easily accessible home pages that will tell you that.
I'm not. I don't really care.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
90% of the people on this planet are fucking retarded and illogical.
So
if I'm supposed to go, oh well, that's how they think, and yeah, that's cool. I guess I can accept that. I'm never going to do that. So sorry. Now, right to die for me is meaning that yes, you make someone wanting to kill themselves legal. You make if they want to kill themselves, they can. Right? That's it. Clear cut. That's all.
Okay.
For me, that is right to die.
Yes.
Now, if you want to kill yourself by sitting in your car, running a hose from your tailgate into the window, that might not be the best way that I think you should go. And I'm not saying that you know, possibly people should think about stuff and talk about stuff and have other options before they fucking kill themselves, so they can actually think about it and understand what they're doing.
Because a lot of those attempts
and what their choices are and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not dismissing any of that. I'm not saying any of that is wrong to think or feel or want to support or anything else. I'm saying that if you feel someone should have the right to die, it's very hard for me to believe that then you also feel that there is only a certain way that they should die, and that there should be a government program. If you want to die, you sign up for this government program, you wait for your name to get called, you come to a nice shiny yellow bright room, some smooth jazz is playing, Kenny G or whatever, and you get some, whack a dope and bottle of whiskey.
Eat your cookie, drink your milk, and go to sleep. Right?
Night. And everyone's supposed to do that, and that's how it's going to run. And that sounds so pleasant and lovely. And guess what? That's fucked. That is fucked.
Why?
Because of the jazz, John.
Yeah.
What do you
It's the
think,
smooth-
John?
It's the
So
smooth
you want the
jazz.
government? You
It's not
trust
the government, Mark. It's a
Well,
doctor.
who is it?
It's a physician.
Okay, no, but it's been legalized, so it's going through certain controls,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, this doctor, what has
Doctor
this
can't
doctor
use.
done? Did this
Doctor
doctor-
is not allowed to use a
is it-
hammer
is
to do it.
is
He has to use chemicals that are approved. That
not
there's
allowed
the
to use a
scientific
hammer.
proof
And
that
what
it
is-
won't make you go blind and keep you alive and in horrible pain.
and
To do it right.
What if you say no? I want to get killed by a hammer.
Oof.
Then do you have the cops show up and go, no, sorry, that's not the way we do it here. You're going to fucking do it the way we do it, or we're going to kill you right now and take you to jail.
Obviously, everyone would still have the opportunity to kill themselves in their house, but they would also have this thing
Okay,
that was
well, you're
set up to help them.
You're
and take
taking them
in.
the ability to kill themselves in their house with their gun that they bought at the store that they have loved for their whole entire life and shine and
Little gunny.
carry around when Obama comes and visits their town. And, you know,
Okay, so you know what? Your position makes sense if we're conceiving of right to die as just people who think that everyone should have the right at any time.
well, that's what it is
and-
for me. Same with legalizing drugs. We were talking about in connection to this,
Yeah.
legalizing drugs, but making street sales illegal. I think that's ridiculous. I think so. You're going to make drugs legal, but then if someone comes to your house and buys weed from you, the cops can show up and arrest you and put you in jail.
Well, Mark, you're not.
That is fucking dumb.
Well, it's the
And if you don't think it's dumb, I don't know what to say.
Well, it's the same thing that you're not allowed to sell individual cigarettes or beers out of your house. You
And
might disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with
Well,
it.
it's a part
I
of
think that's a dumb
commerce,
law.
Mark.
Sorry.
Well, it's,
Sorry.
I don't think you realize the repercussions
think
of
you
removing
realize-
all of those protections from commerce.
Yes, because we have to stop
Business
people
licenses
from
have a purpose.
poisoning single cigarettes because there's going to be a rush of deaths.
No, selling them without tax.
Because government
Selling them
protects you.
untaxed.
No one dies from food. No one dies from Tylenol. No one. See, this is
don't
this is
caricature
connecting.
my
This is
view. It
connecting
doesn't get
to.
us anywhere.
This is connecting to calling the cops. Cops don't stop shit. Cops show up after stuff has happened.
For the most
Cops
part.
occasionally will stop someone because they see a cop. Oh, no, I shouldn't do this. But they won't actually. If that person still wants to do it, they're going to do it. Guess what? The cop's not going to stop that person from shooting you in the fucking head. What they're going to do is maybe shoot the person after they shoot you in the head or jump on them and arrest them or anything else.
So okay, can we go back to the
Who won?
To the well, okay.
Go ahead,
All right.
go ahead.
Can I give my opinion on the whole discussion?
Yeah.
I think that Mark is saying this is the right to die. Like let's not.
He's
let's-
looking at it from
I
the
get-
libertarian perspective of
Right.
it's just a right now.
Right,
Anyone can do
I
it.
totally get where he's coming from because it's a real easy approach, and I like it. It's a sensible. It's like, hey man, look, let's not make shit too complicated. You got the right to die. You got the right to fucking die. Let's not dance around it. There it is. You have it. Fuck it. Deal with it. I also see your point. Like, I see your point. You've just gotten into the minutia of it, and Mark's like, okay, so it's a right to die. So now it's not illegal. So
Look,
now if I decide to kill myself, the cops aren't going to come and fucking
And you know
shoot
what?
me.
I don't even think suicide is illegal anymore since the 70s. What's illegal is assisted suicide. So right to die, you already have the right to kill yourself.
There's been news reports, and I can Google it and find it for you, of people who are attempting suicide. Cops show up and kill the person.
Well, yeah.
Now,
but that's not from the law.
That's kind of killing two birds with one stone. Or
Well, I think that's why
getting
suicide
what you
by
want
cop
anyways.
becomes
Right.
such a thing.
Yeah.
Like
Right,
suicide
right.
by cop is a thing.
But-
Right, point your gun at a cop.
But if
There you
that's
go.
not, if that doesn't mean, if that doesn't tell you that suicide is illegal, then I don't know what should. Like if you think that cops should show up and kill people when they're not committing something that's illegal, then I don't know.
But
what
Mark, they're not
fucking
killing
world
them
we live in.
because suicide is illegal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
suicide by cops
Why else
kind
are
of
why are they killing them?
Well, either because
No,
the
and
person.
it's not always people with a gun either.
How
There's
often
been
are you
people
saying
who are-
this happens that cops kill suicide attempters that aren't armed?
I'm saying it has happened
Twice. I mean,
twice is twice. What
So
can I
it's
tell
not-
you?
it's not a salient-
So it's not. So you're telling me that it's not illegal because these two times that I can tell you about didn't happen.
yeah, because the millions of suicide attempts per year
Well,
where
then
people
why-
end up
why-
in. Let me finish.
John,
where people
no,
end up in
tell
hospitals.
me why
They don't
those
get
two-
arrested.
Why did
they don't
those
get a
two-
citation.
Why did those two
That's true,
things
they
happen?
don't.
Why did those two events happen?
I have no idea. Maybe they were
Well,
going to land on a car in the bridge below, Mark. I have no idea why that happened. It's some extreme thing that has nothing to do with anything. The point is, there's millions of suicide attempts I don't know if millions, but every year there's many, many suicide attempts, and those people don't get prosecuted, Mark. They go to the hospital. They don't get a ticket. They don't get thrown in jail. It's not illegal. Right to die is just about making assisted suicide legal.
So that there's less vegetables and less people in wheelchairs. And I think to get... So I don't think anybody won. I just think you guys have a difference of opinion. But I think this... I think we should go back to the topic because it's
which one? Oh, the shooting.
Yeah.
So,
like why? So we're
yeah.
talking about these things, and I'm saying the guys that are the Second Amendment guys that I'm really, they're like that dude where you're like, don't be on my side. Just let me talk, please, because you're not reasonable and I'm very reasonable. So
I bet you get a lot of creationists that want to be your friend.
Yeah, all the time. I'm being bombarded with friend requests. But
should we talk about Obama's response and everything?
Okay, if you let me finish because I started to say, I all these guys are like, it's a mental health issue. That's not it. No, totally,
not totally. We're agreed though. All three of us have agreed. Funding that further would be a step in the right direction.
Because I think we can also all agree that as you get into the investigation of these clowns, you find out there's mental health issues.
Yeah, but
I mean, it becomes fairly clear most times.
Mark's right though that this guy wasn't ever going to be. I mean, he was functioning like
right. That's why I'm saying that it's not strictly a mental health problem. That's oversimplifying.
Well, there's another thing, and I don't know how it would work, but I would not have a problem with a little bit of regulation in the fact that this kid that did this went to a firearms training academy, and they turned him down.
Ooh.
And they said
he got kicked out of boot camp.
He got kicked out of boot camp, but
not meeting
beyond this, he went to a firearms training academy and wanted to get instruction. This is from someone who is a big supporter of the Second Amendment.
Right.
This is from someone who believes in all that and believes you have
so
the right
why
to
they
carry
turned him down? Have they said?
They said because he was scary and he wouldn't take basic training. He was like, no, I know all that stuff. I want to learn how to shoot really high power rifles and blah 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 blah. And they're like, nah, we don't. Nah, we're not.
Yeah. So what are you saying? They should have had the duty to warn?
They should have been able or had the duty, yes, to alert
the duty
someone
to warn
and say, hey, look, we're flagging this kid because of this.
But still, Mark, then the cops might show up at this kid's door because he said something at Firearms Academy that was scary. You wouldn't like that.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them showing up and questioning him.
Yeah.
Now, whether he...
Well, I got to say, man, these guys are usually pretty happy to take your money.
Yeah.
And if you're getting turned down,
as long as you don't have like a Muslim last name or something.
I'll tell you what. You think about the guys who do tactical training. They're mostly guys that come from that life. They're war fighters. They're the fucking soldiers of the world. They're the warrior class. They've kind of seen the fucked up side of life, so they know what it looks like.
Right.
So if they're turning that guy down, they're like, "Nah, dude, you're a guy I wouldn't want in my foxhole because you're a little bang crazy."
Oh, he's like the kid that comes into jiu-jitsu and just doesn't want to listen to anything and just wants to roll.
But I'll tell you, Mark, what you're talking about is called the Tarasoff clause, because a psychiatrist has a duty to warn if he believes his patient is dangerous to a specific person or a target. I think it might have to be a specific target, though. Because they had to warn me once. They're like, they invoked the Tarasoff clause. We have to warn you that a patient threatened your life. And I'm like, oh, great.
It's an exception to client doctor
privilege. Right. So I see what you're saying. But what I'm saying is that I'm talking about the overall argument about this issue and the oversimplification on both sides.
Well, I'm not even saying that academy needs to alert the authorities like cops, but maybe the academy should alert his parents. Maybe the academy should alert...
Or a MAC team, somebody like that, like Southern Arizona Mental Health or like the Crisis Response Center where you call in and you say, hey, man, we got a guy, he was down here acting a little weird. We think somebody might just want to go talk to him. Because mental health professionals are a lot less scary than police. Because they could probably gauge his level of agitation quickly. Because you think about this, if they thought you were weird, right, and then some mental health professionals come to talk to you and you're like, wow, this is really weird. And they're like, do you mind if we talk to you for a minute? So you step outside and you're like, nah, I got no problem talking to you for a minute, but this is really weird. Now, as a mental health professional, you get a guy and you come there and you can kind of gauge what he's all about, you know, just like I do. When you walk up, you're like, oh, this guy's not doing well. I can tell by looking at him. We got something going on.
So we've had a couple suggestions already as to things that would incrementally help this problem over time.
And there's another thing that we haven't mentioned yet that I really think would help.
Let's do that, because that's an actual positive contribution I think that we can make to this that thing. But before we do that, in other words, all of us are acknowledging that this is a multifaceted problem. Right,
yeah.
Multifaceted. No one thing helps.
As now, most things are.
Right. Now, why is let's say a moderate, a liberal, what we call the rational gun control people, why is that person not allowed to throw in the fact that states with tighter gun control laws have fewer gun-related deaths, and that gun ownership per state is very well correlated with the murder rate? But no, what I'm saying, Mark, is what if they agreed with us on those other things, but they also said, here's another facet. And what Obama was getting mad about in that speech was that, and what Geraldo was saying in his tweet, was that the power of that goddamn NRA lobby and that gun lobby in Congress is so palpable, it's so real, that to say, look, let's not do anything controversial about guns, because you just can't do that in America, which is what it seems to be the case. You just can't. Then those people are going to be pissed that one of the facets is being ignored because it's controversial and because of this NRA lobby.
But see, this is my problem with your argument. It's not just one of the facets is being ignored by the Republicans or conservatives. All of the other facets are being ignored by the liberals and the left and Obama and Geraldo. None of them are talking about mental health as a real thing and the way to combat that. None of them are talking about poverty. None of them are talking about the thing we're going to talk about next, which is media coverage. Yeah. None of them are talking about any of that stuff except for guns. That is the only thing they're talking about.
You're absolutely right.
So
you're absolutely right. But
which is an oversimplification, man.
No, it is. You're absolutely right.
Because what did I just read? Like 70 people got killed in a knife attack in China?
Yeah. But there's obviously 70 people in every room in China, so it's not that hard.
What my point is, though, that like...
Yeah, no.
It's not like...
Obama leads... Plus, they're really good with knives.
Bruce
Lee movies.
Here's my
explanation. Martial training, man.
Obama's a good example of what you're talking about, Mark, who ignored everything else and leaned heavily on the gun issue in his speech.
Solely.
But if I was going to defend him, I would say that's because that's the one issue you can't bring up. You can't pass any of those laws in this country.
So why don't we attempt to bring up other things that will actually do some good, as we've all agreed, instead of hammering this fucking one thing that is pretty much dead in the water?
Okay, good point.
But
let me ask you one more thing.
Forward progress.
Yes, you're right. Good. You're right. We should. However, hypothetical reasonable Democrat X is someone who agrees with us on all those other facets, but also looks at the statistics I'm mentioning about guns and gun laws leading to fewer gun-related deaths, and saying, he walks in here, moderate Democrat X, and says, I like the stuff you guys just said, and equally, if it's a pie of 4 slices, one of the slices is tighter gun control laws, and that's my opinion as Democrat X. How do you respond to that person?
You can have that opinion.
Do you think they're wrong?
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
You can have that opinion, but at least half the country disagrees with you.
Yeah.
And is going to fight you on it. So
is that a reason to give up on something?
Well, no, but let's have some forward progress, and let's do something actually about this problem that we all claim to care so much about. Okay? If you live with a person in the house and say it's really cold all the time for you, and so you want to turn the air conditioner down or turn the heat up or whatever. And the person that you live with is like, fuck that. I'm always fucking hot. No, you can't do that.
Right.
Well, you got to compromise, right? You got to find a good middle ground.
Yeah.
And if the one thing that they're like, look, I'm cool with, because I'm always hot, like, you can turn the air conditioner down, but I'm going to leave the windows open or, whatever. But if there's like, well, okay, we can compromise on this stuff, but I'm getting off track. But if there's one thing that your roommate says,
That's the one thing I won't bend
This
on.
is the one thing I will not bend on. You don't fucking hammer on that one fucking thing, and don't try to find compromise on other areas.
But it's
ridiculous.
Do you blame the right for being
I
that
blame
way?
all of them. I blame all of them.
Yeah,
but
I'll tell you why blame should be passed equally. Because if you look at Obama's speech, what everybody's talking about is, man, all the emotion. Well, emotion's not really rational, which is why he didn't mention all the other problems that contribute to gun violence.
And he's very charismatic and can kind of trick you into liking him.
And I can get why you're upset. Like, I get it, man. Who wants to hear about kids getting shot?
Well, and he has to be the one to talk to the parents, too. Like,
it bothers me.
Yeah.
It bothers me. It does. But I think the left is so emotional that they're irrational. And I've talked to a lot of them, so they're irrational. And they do things like stretch the definitions of what is what so that they get this massive amount of mass shootings. And it's ridiculous because they don't all qualify. Most of the things that they talk about are murder suicides, and we know that that's not going to stop with guns. People stab their family members. When they want to kill their whole family and themselves, they do it.
So here's the thing, though. Okay.
But so on one side, say you have two legit people that would normally be willing to talk. Very hypothetical when you're talking about Republicans and Democrats. But on this one issue, the one comes to the table completely emotional and irrational. And in response, the other one gets completely emotional and irrational.
Right.
Because now we're only dealing with emotions and nobody's thinking. Then you throw in the money. The money from the gun lobby and from the war business. Because the NRA has 500,000 members, 1 million members? What is it? Is it something like that?
Oh, it's huge.
Is that really huge? Because there's 360 million fucking people in America. That's only 1 million.
Well, yeah, but when you're talking about
that's
cooperative,
less than 1%.
I know, of course, but you're talking about a giant organization. In terms of comparing it to other organizations and cooperatives, it's
what
huge.
about AARP?
Yeah, well, but that
they have more. I think they have more leverage than the NRA does in the bargaining. If you look at members, I bet you there's more members in AARP than
I didn't know. Okay,
than the NRA.
If you want to debate the power of the NRA in Congress,
I'm not,
I don't have tons of
I'm
information,
saying there's
but
bigger
I will go.
Listen. I'm saying there's bigger powers advocating for guns. Dark people.
Oh yeah, defense
that are well fucking beyond the NRA's little Wayne LaPierre and his goofy
for sure
and their kind of weird extreme stance. There's people much darker than them, bro.
Yeah,
these arms dealers, these arms manufacturers, these shady motherfuckers whose names you don't know.
Yeah,
those are the people that are lobbying. That's the money that you can't touch. The NRA doesn't have a shred of the fucking power that those people do.
And I guarantee you that's the reason that the liberals usually like to use the NRA.
Well, it's an easy target.
Whipping boy.
It's an easy target, and they say stupid shit.
Well, yeah,
that's why I won't join the NRA.
From my cold,
but what I'm saying
hand.
is, these liberals and people on the left that do say criticize the NRA are probably most likely in the pockets of those darker forces.
Well, I'm never going to deny that all these fuckers are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Democrat and Republican, they're bought off. If you think Hillary doesn't have some more money in her pocket, you're fucking crazy. That hawk's got...
Well, just having bank money in your pocket, you have war money in your pocket. And drug money.
Yeah. So...
Okay.
So you see where I'm going with this. So we can't have logical discussion
reasonable.
because there's a lot of money in it. And so does that ever make you think, like Mark says, so I bet you Democrats are in the pocket too. Well, why do you guys think there's nothing getting done? My second point, and I think I made this to you on the phone the other day. Do you think your government cares that 13 of us got killed in Oregon? They will send your kids to war over a lie to get killed by the fucking thousands. They don't care that 13 of you got killed in Oregon.
You're right. But that doesn't bother me, and I'll tell you why. I'm not looking at government the way we're taught to. Like a child.
I'm just telling you why nothing's getting done. That's why nothing's getting done. Because in the end, they don't fucking care.
I know, but someone could easily take that point and then conclude from it that government is evil and therefore they should not participate. My point is, I don't view the government as a benevolent organization.
No,
I view it as what it's supposed to be is the arm of the people. So you force them. It's not that I don't think they're doing it because they care. I think we just have to force them to fix the problem. people through votes and whatnot.
Well, there's another thing that both sides use to their advantage when it plays to their partisan agenda is when laws are introduced, there's all these fucking riders that go on them.
Yeah.
So people are like, okay, this dude voted against funding for the troops. Yeah, but what else was attached to that he might have been voting
What's
against?
that called? Pork? So, is it called?
So you think about that, like,
spending?
so here we are, John.
That is?
Here we are,
Secret?
John. We're reasonable guys.
Yeah.
We're congressmen. We're talking this out. We're on some committee. We're hashing this out.
Right.
And I'm saying, okay, John, I'll play the conservative for a minute, and I'll say, I'm going to make these concessions. I'll close the gun show loophole, which I'm willing to do totally.
Mark wouldn't be though, because regulating things doesn't help.
Right. Okay, but I'm willing to.
Okay.
I'm in government. I'm compromising.
Yeah.
Now. I'm willing to close the gun show loophole. I'm willing to do universal background checks, and I'm willing to do them as an FBI check. Here's what I would even go. Here's what I even go. I heard this the other day, and I thought this was genius. And I'll tell you why. Because you're not actually increasing government. I had to get a fingerprint card to work at the hospital.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be beyond having to get fucking fingerprinted. Do you want a gun? You got to get fingerprinted, bro. You got to get fingerprinted because if I have to do it to get a job,
it's a great database.
Why shouldn't you have to do it to get a fucking gun?
Yeah.
And see, I have a fingerprint card. So if you have a fingerprint card, that gets they check that database every year. They run it against the.
So you've just made these pretty good concessions.
I've made these concessions.
Federal laws, right?
So yeah, and then you're like, okay, all right, we're going to write that in the bill. Mm-hmm. But then I want to put these restrictions on here about what kind of weapons can be sold. I want to put these restrictions on magazine capacity. I want to put all these other restrictions on, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to pass that. And then you say, Bryan voted against gun control. No, I didn't. I voted against all that other shit.
Right,
You try to slide in.
But do you think the current Republican Congress would have passed it without those riders?
I don't
because
think,
you were saying they're
no,
in the
I think they're in the pocket.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to do anything because I told you before, and Arnie made this point to me. Out of everybody, that's so weird. The civilian gun industry. It's like the reverse of the race car industry. I talked to Christine about this. I said, racing's not a complete waste of finite resources because every day they're out there, they are torture testing a motor and tires and components for these cars, and they take that technology and they spin it into the car you drive on the road to make it more durable, more efficient, more safe, and that is the benefit of that seemingly meaningless fucking endeavor. So the civilian gun market drives the military gun market because we're out there shooting them, finding problems. There's a lot of smart guys out in the civilian market that are like, hey, you can fix this by this.
Yep.
So it drives the technology. And Arnie's like, that's why it's not going anywhere. Because those companies are huge. Because those arms companies,
metrics,
and
data.
And I guarantee you, when you look at these big arms companies, that's not all they're into.
No,
they're into everything.
Oh,
they're these big umbrella
International
corporations.
Finance.
So.
Now,
that's why nothing's getting done.
Yeah.
It's not that people don't want things done. It's that look at all the barriers I just laid out to that are just bullshit that could be done away with.
It's corruption in Congress.
Corruption and bullshit, superfluous shit that they shouldn't be allowed to do in Congress. If you're passing any single bill about any single thing, that's all it should fucking be about.
Yeah.
So stricter background checks, I'm all for it. Give your fingerprints up if you want to buy a gun. I'm all for it. And I don't think almost anybody that's on my team would like what I just said.
Yeah, and that's what's so
upsetting
about those.
And then here's
team.
what I'm going to say next. That wouldn't have stopped this dude in Oregon from getting a gun. And
probably not.
And maybe I'll lead us into the next part where you want to go.
Yeah.
I'm never saying that motherfucker's name.
We're not saying his name on this. The coward. We're not saying the coward's name.
We won't say that clown-ass coward's name
on the
ever.
show.
Or any other one of you sissy-ass, weak, little impotent fairies and actually fairies are too good for you. My wife's going as a fairy for Halloween.
Yeah.
You impotent fucking cowards. Your name will never get spoken by me. But I want to mention that guy, Chris Mintz.
Who's that? Oh, the hero, the veteran who tried to stop the guy.
I've been watching testimony about this guy. He led people away from buildings. He told them to run. He ran back in there.
Wow.
And he confronted this dude and tried to talk to him. Like, calm down, man. Just talk to me.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this. So the fucking guy shot him. And he said, it's my son's birthday today. And
he shot him again.
Man, that's making me choked up, honestly.
7 times he shot him.
After he told him it was his son's birthday. What kind of fucking psycho does that?
Now that guy's
you see how that makes me feel, dude? You can see. People can't see me. You can see me. You see how that makes me feel?
Yeah, dude. That guy's in stable condition right now, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
That
It looks like he mostly got shot in the legs.
Good.
As both his legs are broken.
Yeah.
I hope he walks again.
So
and
I'm
everything,
thinking
but-
right away, I'm not even going to argue with people saying he used an assault rifle, because if you got shot in the legs and both your legs are broken, you probably got shot with a high-powered rifle. It's probably not a handgun.
Oh, hey, that wouldn't break a bone.
It would, but not
45
like
maybe.
they're talking about him
Right.
having to learn to walk again and stuff.
Well-
Like, I think he got shot with a rifle.
Well, he
Well,
got
there was
shot
a rifle on the
Yeah.
premises and like 7 other. Well, there were 4 guns total, and then like 8 more in his apartment.
Yeah, 6 more. Yeah,
6
Well,
more.
and then
total.
Chris Menz said that he had gotten shot like 5 times, and his girlfriend said that the doctors told him that he had gotten shot like 7.
7 times.
So I don't know how many times he got shot in the legs. Maybe he got shot multiple times.
Maybe they
in the
can't
legs.
tell because it's all the flesh is all.
But I mean, the bravery of that dude, and
Yeah.
what I will say is this. And now here's where my liberal friends will not like it. But in that case, Wayne LaPierre would have been right. If Chris Mintz would have been armed, he could have stopped that guy. He would have stopped that guy.
Yeah.
And he might have hated having to have done it.
But you made the point that was not a gun-free.
Well, but
campus.
then I'm reading stuff that says it is a gun-free campus.
Well,
so
see,
I don't
this
know.
This is where that falls. Oregon law, by law, you can't make something. If you can carry, then you can carry wherever you can carry. Now,
okay.
so you can't say this is a gun-free zone. I guess what they could do is they could make it as gun-free as law would allow. So they did. School policy was they limited. Basically, if you had a permit, you could carry. If you didn't have a permit, you couldn't carry. And there were still buildings and other places on campus that even if you had a permit, you could not bring a gun. So that's where it lies. It wasn't a gun-free zone, but it wasn't a
And there's no indication
gun,
that the hero would have been armed if there were different rules, right? He hasn't
Right,
said,
no.
I
Well,
love
now
carrying
see,
guns.
here's another story that I saw on a conservative site, but it was a guy who said that he was there, he was armed.
But by the time he heard about it,
Well,
cops
this
had showed up.
This guy I heard, he said he didn't go to engage the guy because he was worried that when police did show up, that they would think that he was the dude.
It's very, very dangerous.
This is the same.
It is, and
this is the
I
same report I read because what I read was by the time he heard about it, cops had shown up, and then also when he heard that cops showed up, he went and went back into the classroom or hid his gun or did something because he didn't want cops thinking he was the bad guy.
Right.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Okay.
You don't want those amped up cops.
And my first thought to that was then you tell them what you look like and you tell them that you're armed and you're going to try to engage the suspect.
On
and
the
then
phone.
that shit happened last night. And I'm like, nah, those fucking boneheads are
Yeah.
still going to come and shoot me. So I don't know what I'd do anymore. I might just hunker down and protect anybody who's with me.
So to put it concisely, all three of us agree that legislation, perhaps barring the media from using the name. I was saying, I was saying using it more than once.
I don't even
doesn't
think,
really
I don't
make
even
any
think you
sense.
should use it once.
I don't
Not
think you should
once.
use it once.
Let nobody know it.
Not use the name. So you can't ask the media to not report on mass
No,
shootings.
you can report it, but you can say
We're not
white
gonna give-
male between the ages of this and this or this age or whatever.
No photographs
No,
and
this-
no names.
This guy, I saw...
Now it's going to get out on the internet, right? Anyway.
Maybe.
Or-
It depends.
or you know what?
I mean, how involved? Like, say you get the NSA involved. They're like, mass shooter, send in your guys. They send in the team of the black hat cyber guys, and they fucking erase that dude.
Oh,
They
like
erase
his
him.
identity.
They fucking erase him. I said this in an extreme moment because I got to tell you, this one made me upset, dude. It made me angry.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like he did it to get his name out there.
Oh, he obviously did.
He had researched
And
mass
it made
shootings.
me, and he glorified these fucking idiots, and
He was
it
a-
made me upset.
He was a white supremacist. He was like half black.
Yeah.
And he's a white supremacist, and,
I
he really
see-
hates religion,
and
but
I
he's
see
a
all
Republican.
these, and I
right?
see all these sites that are
Well,
saying MSNBC
yeah.
photoshopped it to make him look whiter, and like here's the unphotoshopped picture.
I doubt that's
in
true.
any case, just to point out how the
Yeah.
crazies come out
Yeah.
in these things.
Yeah.
Okay. And if it is true, why wouldn't it be true? The New York Times fucking cut Bush out of the picture total and then said no Republicans showed up in Selma.
Yeah,
that's the New York Times. So why wouldn't some other fucking
That's
hack
true.
do it?
That's
Why
true.
wouldn't MSNBC do it? They're not the New York Times. They haven't even been around that long.
Well, also,
That's
I
true.
mean,
These people are untrustworthy. Either side, bro.
But these crazies that are suggesting that they what made him lighter, they want the guy to be black.
Oh, they want him badly to be.
You see how fucked up that is?
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, there's both sides of this are so emotional.
No, yeah,
nobody's willing to be reasonable.
The 24 hours after, where we didn't have his name yet, didn't know who he was, I was thinking, there's one group in America who's desperately praying for this guy to be black. There's one group who's desperately praying for him to be a Muslim. There's one group who's desperately praying for him to be a white Republican, Christian. There's one that's white, wants him to be an atheist. There's another group that, they want the bad guy to be the guy that they spend all their time talking shit about, hating. And it's just so disgusting, man.
Well, you know
it's
what
so
was
petty.
you know what was different
I
about?
hope he's one of these guys.
You know what was different about this one too is this
I
cat,
hope he likes Friends.
I hate Friends. I bet he liked Friends. I bet he didn't even watch Seinfeld.
But this cat traded with the police. He didn't kill himself when they got there.
No, they're calling it suicide. I don't
Are
know
they?
when. I don't know when.
This is the thing. So some people have reported that he shot himself, and then what I've heard off other things is that he died in an exchange of gunfire with police.
Yes, that's what I heard.
That does not mean that a bullet from a cop's gun killed him. He can be shooting at police, and there's an exchange of gunfire, and then he turns the gun on himself. And kills himself.
That Neil Mataserenu and the other guy who shot himself while he was shooting it out with police.
Oh, he wanted to get into the shit, but it was a little too hairy for him.
Once, he didn't. He wanted.
He didn't like the bullets flying at him. No. The coward.
The coward. Right. So
we're saying we're proposing legislation that forces media outlets
never to use his
because
name.
Of course all they want is profits, so they'll never do anything that might hurt their bottom line unless it's a law. So you got to make a law saying don't put their faces on, don't put their names on, and then make a grassroots effort. Even I don't even know about legislation. One of us should start a Kickstarter or something, and all it is like a pledge for news outlets and content creators. It's a pledge that you put up on your Facebook and you sign, and it says I won't use the name of the next one.
Right.
And you get and then you make a petition to get NBC to do it, to sign it. And then NBC might want to sign it if it gets big enough in the population, right? NBC might be like, "Ooh, we might look like really good guys if we sign this." So then they sign it. And then the other outlets are like, "Well, I don't want to be the last guy that's still saying his name and therefore supporting mass shooting and domestic terrorism, so we're going to sign it." And that's what I was thinking. This could actually happen. The internet can make something like that happen. Don't you think?
Possibly. I mean, yeah, I don't see a reason not to try it.
Yeah.
But the only other thing that I was going to say was, and it's not, I think it is good not to say these people's names, but I think it's more than that, in that when these things happen, it's not just the saying of their name. It's when media then starts reporting on, we interviewed his mom and dad, and this is what they had. We talked to his roommate, and this is what they said.
Talking about his motives.
And talk about their motives and
diary.
What they did in their life and their diary.
With
and
the anarchist sign and pencil.
And then it's just like, you know what? Now you have made this person into a celebrity.
Yeah.
And you put them on the cover of the magazine, and you have done that. Like, it's far beyond just using someone's name. Like, if that's all the media did was put their name out there, I think I'd be okay with that.
They almost give him a brand like an athlete.
Yeah. Well, remember the Rolling Stone cover of the Boston Bomber? That was rough, man. Yeah. Because a million young girls fell in love with that dude when they saw that picture. He's a good-looking guy, he's had an iPod or whatever he was. He was cool. He was cool.
Right.
Fucking.
Well, even people that aren't cool. Look at Charlie Manson. I don't think many people would think he's really good looking
no.
But he's fucking iconic.
Yeah.
His fucking image
fucking pop
is on
icon.
tons of shit.
He gets marriage requests every day, dude.
So here's my point about this. And I thought about this, and I think I might have said this to you. There's two, from what I can see, and if anybody who listens to the show, really think about what I'm about to say and tell me if I'm wrong, if there's a group I left out. There's two groups of people in the world right now who commit mass shootings, which is fucking Muslim extremists and American men.
Is that the company we want to keep?
What's the fucking correlation?
Is that the
between
company
those?
we want to keep?
And I'll tell you what I think.
And it is a man's problem.
Well,
It's a
yeah,
man-
very few
there's
women
one other-
fucking do it. There's I
Never.
found rare instances, but it's not unfair to say never and have it be a generalized term.
Right.
It's
99% would probably be true.
I'll qualify it that way.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
I think there's actually a story in Tucson about a lady who fucking double-barreled shotgunned 3 of her husbands. I saw it on the news today.
Yeah, but that's not a mass shooting because she spread it out.
Yeah, she spread it out.
I was going to say she had all 3 of them in the room at the same one time.
I don't know if it was like a reunion or what, but I just saw the headline.
They were Mormon, but reverse Mormon.
So it's what I'm saying is that Obama comes on and he's just guns. The other side comes on and they're like mental health.
No. That's something I was going to say, but I didn't want to jump here and like defend Democrats again. But this did occur to me. So Obama's wrong in our opinion because he harped on guns only.
He's minimizing it to one issue. To
right.
One
of
thing.
the facets. I think we've identified 4 facets. One of the facets he gave all the credit to.
All the credit.
He might have mentioned a couple other things, but he didn't care. It was all about guns. O'Reilly and Bush both said there's nothing you can do to stop this.
Right, but it's in reaction to the gun thing. Like, I'm not downplaying their
so they did 0 of 4 facets.
They're part of the blame. I'm not downplaying that they are part of the problem. They should counter with, well, I think we should look at these things.
But they don't want to increase funding to mental health. Or increase socioeconomic class.
You know what?
Never.
Let me just suggest this for the moment, but we're not them. So let's say we are them. And how are we going to solve it at the table? And I think that's what
and that's what I'm saying. Is like like crossfire. Okay, you pick a subject. The subject isn't really mass shooting. It's gun control, because the mass shootings just leads to gun control. And then it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do about gun control? You got a yay vote over here, you got a nay vote over here. That's what the argument is. It's not, okay, gun control, yay over here, nay over here. They don't think gun control is really the issue. Maybe it's mental health or this or that or blah blah blah. And many other facets. It's more complicated issue than just yes or no. And
but I'm saying that
I have a much better example about people like no compromise.
But I'm saying that the typical conservative will oppose gun legislation. They will oppose expanding health care. They will oppose addressing income inequality. And I don't know about the 4th one, the media thing. They might support that.
I'll tell you what.
Probably not if they work for the media like Bill O'Reilly.
No, because I'm going to say something. I think the first 2 people to come on the air and say they were going to refuse to say his name were both Fox anchors.
Okay.
Well, the first person,
which honestly, it's the first. And
that's a good.
Can I just say
the first person to say that was the fucking local cop, who also is a huge NRA supporter, Second Amendment supporter, and the fucking liberals harped on him about that.
Yeah.
And fucking ran it into the ground about how douchey he was because he didn't support Obama's gun control.
Okay.
And blah 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 blah.
But I want. That's the first thing that Fox News has ever done that impressed me. Where I was like, thank you.
Yeah, but a liberal,
move.
The typical liberal would support 3 of the 4 facets at least, and maybe the 4th.
Then why aren't they bringing those other points up? That's my only problem.
Well,
right there.
Why is it only?
Why is it only about guns? Please, Democrats, liberals,
so I think
people,
we
bring up other solutions. Talk about other things.
You're right.
But I think there's one. So we have what are 4 facets? Their guns, their mental health, their socioeconomics, and their media coverage.
Yep.
What about our fucking culture?
Well, this is what the conservatives would say. They would say it's our liberal culture.
Games,
it's video games,
music.
It's anti-Christian values. Look, the guy was targeting Christians.
Okay,
and he was.
And this is what I'm going to argue as a Second Amendment guy.
They want to go back to 1950s, picket fence. Black people are basically slaves still. That's what they want to go back to. That'll help the problem.
So let me say this from what I know of liberals, which people are like beatnik, Birkenstock driving, or Birkenstock wearing, Subaru driving, hippie.
I want to drive a Birkenstock.
Right? Okay.
Wear a Prius.
What's violent about a liberal society? What's violent about liberals?
Right.
They're not. They're the aren't now. When I think about my hardcore conservative friends, they're the idiot sissies with their heads in the sand. They're buried. They're helpless. They're the meek. What's violent about them? They want everybody to sing Kumbaya and be fucking happy and peace among men. And they're disillusioned. That's what I hear from the far right.
Well,
that's what those people are. So what's violent? Why would liberal
values.
things, which are, humanitarianism, charity, which would seemingly be now. But I'm not saying that's what they are, but that's what they are on the surface, right? They're like, okay, we're the liberals.
Yeah.
We're for feeding the poor and housing the homeless,
equality,
and fucking taking care of these refugees,
no kings,
and fucking immigration reform that leads to citizenship and all this stuff.
Yeah.
What's violent about that? Like, why is a liberal culture causing us to be more violent?
Because they've thrown away the guidance of the Ten Commandments, and therefore they're now
shut the hot fuck up.
They're floating in a sea of atheism and relativism, and they've lost their moral compass, and they
John,
worship pornography.
Right.
And,
right. And John, do you understand? Do you understand how that is the mere opposite then of the liberals, Democrats, and the guns, and the conservatives, and the fucking moral issue? That's basically the thing that they go to.
You're saying liberals say it's conservative culture that causes violence.
Liberals say it's conservative culture, mainly guns, access to guns. Conservatives say it's mainly liberal causes, access to all these other ideas and thoughts that aren't rooted in Christian.
True, because liberals. You're absolutely.
Beliefs.
No, let me say this: liberals, especially atheists, will sell you that religion itself is the cause of all the world's problems, and that's if we equate religion with conservatism, if we equate religious belief with conservatism, which you really can't, but say we are.
Ideology's an ideology, bro.
Yeah, that's why this show, and see, our 4 facets here, this is why radical agnosticism isn't just a gimmick.
I think we got 5 because we added culture, right? I want that in there because it's important. Something about our culture is causing us to have mass shootings at a high fucking rate.
So what is it then?
I'm against the PMRC and all that kind of crap, but it is true that when NWA came out with their first album, Straight Outta Compton, after that, gang membership increased because, and it wasn't like a direct like, oh, well, I bought this record and listened to it, and then I went and joined a gang, but it made being in a gang look cool.
Yeah,
especially to kids that didn't have anything to do with that life.
Yeah,
and they lived with mommy and daddy in fucking Iowa, and blah blah blah, and they could like, oh hey, let's start a gang, and you, and
whereas you used to have cultural leaders like Frederick Douglass and Bill Cosby before we knew he was a rapist, and other black men that were.
I'm not even making it a race.
Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I'm not even making it a race thing because I'm not saying that gang membership in the inner city amongst blacks increased. I'm not sure about that, but I think just gang membership in general, and maybe it's not even real gangs. Maybe it's just kids running around in crews, just like they would in in the 50s. They're greasy.
Anytime you get a bunch of young boys together, though, we're going to do some dumb shit eventually.
But I'm just saying,
at vaudeville.
Yeah.
But there is like you have to say that. When everyone's playing first shooter fucking games on Xbox or whatever, you get desensitized to stuff. You think oh well, it's not a big deal, and then and same with music. Music makes you like accept other things or think like something's cool or something's more acceptable or whatever.
I played one of those video games, one of those Call of Duties where at one point you're the bad guys and you walk into an airport in Russia and just fucking waste civilians.
Oh, I played that scene. I was like,
it's disturbing, isn't it? I mean, it's a little disturbing. You're just wasting civilians.
I hadn't played video games in like 10 years at that point, but I bought an Xbox and I bought that game. This was a few years ago, and I came to that part, and so I was kind of out of the loop, and I didn't know how far they were taking it, and I was like, what? I'm supposed to what? And they give you like an M60, like a belt-fed machine gun,
and you
go into the apartment and you're the bad guy.
It's an airport, dude. And then they're down below you. You're just dumping grenades on them. It's fucked up, dude. Now, women, kids, you're just killing everybody, dude.
We can do it. There's another weird fact. Okay, this game Far Cry 4 recently came out, and it's an open world, what they call a sandbox game, and it's a shooter, and you have vehicles and all kinds. It's like Grand Theft Auto, basically, but. So you run around a jungle setting and you shoot the bad guys and everything. And they have, this is Xbox One now, so this is high tech. The graphics are awesome and everything. And they have all these, the whole island is populated with every manner of animal. You got little birds and tropical things.
Aren't there like dinosaurs and shit?
No, there's elephants.
Elephants, right? Okay.
So now here's the thing. They did a study on people testing the game right before it came out. They release what they call the beta, which is unfinished game.
Frankie does that shit. He tests it. That's how good that fucker is at video games.
Yeah. So they released
approached
this
him, dude, online. They're like, dude,
No,
can
but-
you test our
yeah.
games? Like, help us.
Now,
You're
when-
fucking badass.
when you're running around the island. You can shoot anything. If you shoot the squirrel, it'll die.
Right.
And so there's monkeys and two of the things are monkeys and elephants. Now they tested people, and what happened was it came out that like 17% of people would shoot the elephants just for no reason, just for fun. And then but the monkeys, it was like 88% of people would shoot the little horrible monkeys. And
Wow, how weird.
and it's like the monkey and not apes. They're not apes. They're monkeys. There's little these.
Yeah.
Every human hates a monkey. I mean, a monkey's an asshole. Like it's
Yeah.
just you don't want a monkey
Davy
around.
Jones, Mike Nesmith,
They're way too smart. They'll take apart your phone.
ripping off the Beatles.
Every monkey's an
Stupid.
ass.
Hey,
Soul
with
show.
the monkeys. So this is really weird. There seems to be a moral code in video games. Like anyone who says video games make you violent, we're all like, shut up, you're an idiot. We know the difference between reality and fiction. And so, but the truth is, and I played the game, and then I didn't shoot the elephants. They're majestic. Like, so it shows you that there is moral reasoning going on in gaming. And I don't know what else it shows you. I don't have a conclusion from that statistic, but it's very.
My theory would be that people are more apt to shoot a monkey because it resembles us more than an elephant. And
That's got to
used
be
to killing people. You know,
That's got to be part of it. They know we came from that line, and people. It's okay to hate people, but to hate animals is really messed up.
Or they've had their phone or their hat stolen by a monkey on a trip to India, and they're like, fucking, you're not taking my extra mags, baby. I'm getting rid of you.
A monkey will,
I don't know how real this game is. If this monkey's down snatching my extra ammo, I got to get him out of here.
A monkey will replace one of your tires while his buddy takes your watch off your wrist, man. I mean, these guys are doing crazy stuff over there. I visited India in grad school for 2 weeks, and one day we were up north too in like rural parts for a part of it. And one day we're walking from the hotel to wherever I had to buy some groceries at some stand, and I was walking down the street, and this group of kids had just gotten out of school. They were about first graders, and they all had their little school uniforms on, and they're marching home. And I was walking with this little kid, and we're just chatting and stuff. His English was great, and I was like, "Oh, look, a monkey!" I go, "Look, a monkey in the tree!" And the kid was carrying an umbrella, and he points it at that monkey and skews his eyes up, and he goes, "We don't trust those monkeys." I loved that. So
culture, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
The fifth.
What my point is, I don't want to ever think that video games are the problem. But there's a little part of me thinks that it is kind of a little bit. I don't want to ban them ever. Screw that. There's ups and downs to everything.
And this is why I throw culture in there. Just let me ask you this: why is there something like 85% gun ownership in Norway, but no mass shootings?
Except that one horrible one.
Right.
No, well,
Yeah,
an even better,
it was bad.
an even better
80, 77.
case
79
example would be Switzerland. Because I can't think of any cases of mass shootings in Switzerland.
No, and
Right.
it's like
And
that's
you're-
another one where it's like
and
85% gun
Switzerland,
ownership.
I thought you're
almost
every
you're
single
required.
citizen is required to own a gun.
But guess
And
what,
I
Mark?
think it's a rifle, dude.
Yeah.
I think it's a fucking assault rifle.
Guess what? Who's number 2 in the world of developed countries
In
for
quality
gun
of living?
deaths?
Well,
for
but-
gun deaths.
but
Switzerland?
Switzerland.
Are you fucking serious?
Number 2, boys.
but
Number 2.
but again,
among developed countries.
no,
No,
Switzerland,
I'm wrong.
not
I'm wrong.
Swaziland.
No, I'm wrong. But they are number 5. They're number 5
Switzerland?
in the world among developed countries for gun deaths per 100,000
well,
people.
because
Switzerland.
I would say that's probably
Canada's
right,
number
because
3.
The
And
more
they got some strict gun laws up there.
Well, they have. They're in the top 5 of most guns per 100 people of all
A
developed
lot of
countries.
hunters, though, man. You got a lot of hunters. In
and a
Canada.
majority of those again are going to be suicide. I believe.
Are you sure that suicide was over 50% of all gun
Yes.
deaths, or was it the biggest chunk of
No,
all the
it was-
categories?
Suicides were the majority of gun deaths in the U.S.
That's so many.
That's a lot.
And that's what I'm saying.
But so-
I don't
but so
disagree
e-
that,
even that,
that
like-
access to a gun you owning a gun and having a gun in your house probably makes it more likely that you're going to kill yourself, because it is easy. If you're feeling just bummed out one day and you're drinking and getting drunk and fuck, my girlfriend broke up.
Well, and there I think you hinged on it though. Like when you add substances and your fucking impulsivity rises in your.
Bryan, what was that horrible story about the guy, and it was a mistake? He was he was cleaning it or looking down the barrel of it or something.
Oh man, yeah.
You don't have to.
No, my friend's fiance had a gun accident where they were drinking, and it was a 22 and he was handling it, and he said, you never do this. Yeah. How about those for last words, right? He said, you never do this, and he put the gun under his chin and pulled the trigger. Shot himself in the head right in front of my friend, right? One of the police officers before they left made a comment about at least there wasn't a lot of blood on the couch.
Jesus. Why would they say that?
Sensitivity training, dude. Like, seriously. It's a good thing you weren't a doctor because your bedside manner sucks.
Well, that's like, I mean, when...
But I mean, so that was a complete accident involving alcohol. It never needed to happen. Like, I doubt he would have done that sober.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
But I see so much stupid shit on YouTube of people, like, I see a lady, like, I always see this one still out of a video of a lady, like, looking down the barrel of a pistol, and I'm like, oh,
don't do that.
It makes me cringe. I'm like, God, you're going to shoot yourself
even with
in
my
the eye.
revolver, where 100%, you open the thing, you spin the thing, there's no bullets, and there's no way this can fire. I would never, even after just checking that, never even for a joke, would I point that at someone or myself.
Well, dude, like, even last night, like, thinking I was going to get in a gunfight, finger was never on the trigger.
Yeah, good. I had these quotes about the cowards' fascinations and searches and everything, but I'm not going to read them.
Fuck him. Who cares what he said?
Well, just the one thing that I'd say is, one thing that he, and I don't know if he wrote on his MySpace or in a diary or whatever, but basically he was talking about the guy who killed the reporter and the cameraman, and he said that this guy was a nobody, and then after he killed these people, then he was a somebody.
He said that? He posted
he posted pretty
it,
much.
And people knew who he was, and he said that the more people you kill, the more you're known.
Now that's evidence for a media/cultural facet to this problem. That's evidence.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because out of all the mass shootings we've ever seen in our time, the one in Norway was the biggest.
Yeah.
Right? What's that dude's name?
I know his name, but I'm not going to say it because of the new policy.
You know his name?
Also,
Because I don't.
It happened in Norway.
Right.
I've read a lot about
what I mean?
that
But I know
guy.
all the motherfuckers' names from America.
He sits in a jail cell. He's got like cable. He's got like an Xbox. He has an Xbox, and he has books and stuff. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that's. And he got a 20-year sentence because that's what they do in Norway, and they stuck with their law on that. They could have probably like done an exception, but they stuck with their law, and I kind of appreciate that. I kind of do. I don't know what you do when it's time for him to get out.
Mostly kids?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then the bomb too, right?
No, it's the same thing as my thing on capital punishment. I mean, I don't. I think some people deserve to die, but I don't think the government has the right to do that to anyone.
And he went out to an island where people could not.
Oh, he planned it out well. I remember
and he had
that.
a bomb go off at the same time in another location
to divert
resources.
So all the resources would be there, and he would have.
And it killed some people.
Yeah, it did. It did.
And he was a video game nut. That guy.
So when we go back to that, all I'm saying about this, and this really bothers me as much about my liberal friends, because you guys have some such fuzzy math on your statistics. For one, these weird numbers that you come up with.
They're not thinking. They're just reading Facebook posts and developing their policy off of that.
They're not helping your argument with the other side, man. You have to be like, if both sides are being unreasonable, somebody has to start being reasonable. And if you're the better people, then fucking prove it.
Yeah.
Then fucking prove it and be reasonable and say, look, no riders, no nothing, no bullshit. We propose these fucking simple things, and if you don't agree to them, I think
the majority of the Americans
really
are in favor of those laws.
I don't even think the majority of people are going as far as I did and saying fingerprints.
Yeah. Well, they want instant background checks.
I
but
thought that
not
was a good
fingerprints.
idea when I heard it. I'm like, wow, all my Second Amendment friends are gonna hate that.
I don't want to be on a list so Obama can come into my house.
And you know what made me not care about what those motherfuckers think at all anymore? The shit that those same douchebags are talking about this Planned Parenthood thing. Because you guys are fucking insane. You're just, when you say the liberals are super insane about gun control, that you are that plus another whole like exponent worse about Planned Parenthood. You respond, you're like, we give them facts about gun violence and gun deaths, and they respond with emotion. That's the same exact thing you're doing with the Planned Parenthood case.
Yep.
You're responding to their facts and statistics with, I don't give a shit what your facts are. You're wrong. You're baby killers.
Right.
You're wrong. You're wrong. You can't take that much available free health care away from that many unfucking funded women.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, and the thing is,
and federal dollars don't fund abortion.
None.
Period.
Only 15
Goodbye.
states funded in any way.
Good night.
And that's usually only in the cases of rape or incest. So please, I'll tell you this. If you're listening, you're conservative, and you're going to talk that crazy shit, then just stop.
Well, they're
Don't
against
talk.
abortion, so...
well,
And
they
I can
both
see where you're
behave the
against
same
abortion.
way. Conservatives and liberals
Right.
behave exactly the same way. Just it's about the issues that they flip-flop on.
Right.
It's like, okay, we need to ban guns. Oh, we need to ban drugs. Oh, we need to ban abortions. Oh, we need to ban whatever. Oh, we need to have voter ID laws. Oh, we need to have gun registration laws. We need to have.
See, my point is like you can't. If you're an idiot, you can't take higher ground. So when the liberals say, look, abortions are only 3% of what Planned Parenthood does, and you're like, that's still 318,000 abortions. And then we say, gun deaths only account for 3% of homicides. And they're like, that's still this many gun deaths. Well, yeah, you're doing the same fucking thing that they did. That's why we never get anywhere. Because there's no radical agnosticism in government.
Now, I have one thing. I don't know if this will be a challenge to you. So we've advocated the media blackout law. Let's call it that.
Go.
Now,
right now.
What if it's a Muslim extremist? Would
Then
you not want people to know that about them?
Well, maybe you can divulge that information without fucking giving his name. We don't have to give him a martyr.
Okay.
We can tell him this guy was evidence indicates that he was a Muslim extremist, and we're following up any leads that connect him to any other organizations.
You'd have to support them releasing information about the motivations of the white killer, the mass shooters too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is they operate on the same principles. Terrorist groups operate on the ability that they want their name to get out there.
Yeah, that's
true. They want
true.
people to be afraid of them. They want that attention.
They
Same
claim
thing with mass
responsibility.
shooters.
So you call them what they are. He was a mass shooter. He was a Muslim extremist. You don't name them. You don't give their motives.
No, don't even call them Muslim. Just say he's a mass
that's
shooter.
the point of
They're mass
contention.
shooters. They're all mass shooters.
Ah.
And don't tell why their reasoning. Who gives a fuck about their reasoning?
that's where the
what you
right-
did was you picked up a gun and you shot a bunch of other people that you didn't even fucking know.
Or so what he's saying though is, what if it's a bomb? Because we know that's the way the Muslim extremists tend to go. They
Yeah. It's a bomb.
they blow shit up.
Yeah.
So then you same thing. The coward, the fucking.
But do you say that he's a Muslim
No.
extremist
No.
or not? So no.
I don't think so.
Well,
You don't think the public
okay.
should know that there's terrorism going on?
Well,
No?
doesn't the public know that there's terrorism going on?
I'm just saying, like, if a new event took
Couldn't
place that was very
play
big,
that?
you know?
Remember Office Space? They have that jump to conclusions game.
Yeah.
Couldn't we decide that a guy on our own, as intelligent people, couldn't we decide that a guy who blew up a place with a bomb was a terrorist? Right. Couldn't we make that jump on our own?
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but not necessarily a
Aren't
Muslim
they all terrorists?
Yeah, they are. They're domestic terrorists.
So
and
then let's
foreign.
just lump
I'm
them
saying
into
they're
their one
terrorists.
shitty
Well,
little coward group. Let's
Whether
just
they
throw
did
them
it
in.
because they wanted
Yeah.
a bunch of attention on their Facebook.
I'm saying that
or
the
if they
right
wanted
will resist that because and another bad thing about this law might be that the speculation on all these other websites will go nuts because we won't know the facts.
Well, speculate.
So,
Speculate off your ass.
Yeah.
It happens anyways.
Yeah, it
But
does.
I say bury him deep. I was in such a mood about this the other night, that like now this guy's dad's talking and they're like, oh yeah, crazy is as crazy does. And I was in such a mood about this the other night. I'm like, erase this dude from memory, void his birth certificate, erase him. You can erase people, erase him,
so
make it never happen. Tell his parents, if you even talk about him, we'll erase you. That's where I was at last night. I'm like, no, we'll do your family, dude. We're going to send the black hats in. They're fucking extracting everybody they're gone. We're going to erase you from the fucking memory of the human condition.
This is why, though, my because you can't restricting the freedom of the press. Actually, that's a big deal. So my suggestion, I think, is good of the grassroots thing of generating a pledge that's voluntarily signed by individual content creators like us and websites, and then all the way up to the big news agencies. You make it public pressure from the bottom up. You don't make it legislative, because you can't legislate the press. That's not okay. It's not cool to limit the powers of the press in this country by law.
That seems to work.
Did you hear when you were in the bathroom? What I was saying was that there would be pressure. I don't want to be the last news organization to sign the pledge.
I'm saying that seems to work, and we've talked about that before.
But see, that's what it comes down to is pressure from the public or even disinterest from the public. Because the only reason these news medias report what they do, the only reason the magazines put out the covers that they do and put the stories that they do and all that kind of stuff,
buy it.
is because we buy it.
And
we fucking read it. And we talk about it. And we like it. And we fucking argue about it and blah, blah, blah.
One of the bands that Beef would burn down, Tool, It's No Fun Till Someone Dies, the song Vicarious. Like
you put Tool in that list?
Yeah, Tool was on the list of the stages he would burn.
I think their music sucks.
Oh, my God.
I got to tell you, when Mark...
I've read interviews with Maynard J. whatever the fuck his name is, and I think he's an intelligent dude, and I enjoyed the interview immensely. I'm just not a fan of their music.
You think it sucks? It's bad music.
Yeah, I think it's bad music, and I think 95% of their crowd are morons.
Well, that's probably true, but I don't care.
I think that's 95% of anybody's crowd.
Yeah, your buddy's at one of those punk shows.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think we might be stretching to 98.
These aren't exactly the pillars of society. These fellows.
We might be looking at 98. Like I've been to a lot of those shows. I'm not sure which side of that line I even fall on.
I'm just kidding. That's crazy to me.
Not a big fan of their music.
That's fine. Not a big fan, but that it's bad music.
I think it's bad.
It's the first thing that Mark ever said on the show that actually hurt my heart.
It hurts.
Like it hurt my heart. It really did. I want to drink another beer.
The drumming, the instrumentation, the vocals don't impress you. The lyrics, the melodies.
I really have a problem with new metal.
It's not new metal, but
they've been around since the
90s alternate rock and prog rock.
I would
prog rock. Put them. There's prog rock that I like, and I hate most electronic music.
Yeah.
I like electronic music when it was actually electronic, like Kraftwerk and.
It's still actually electronic.
No, now it's all fucking digital files and fucking.
Yeah.
I'm talking about actually building soundboards and switchboards,
like
and
Aphex Twin does. He built all of those analog synthesizers.
I
do.
I
do. I've never even heard Aphex Twin. So I can't
you told me you hated him 2 months ago.
Did I?
You told me
I've
hated
never heard
Aphex Twin.
I think I just told you.
Show.
I think I just told you that to make you mad.
I'm pulling up the episode. I think it was.
No, I don't deny that I probably said that, but I'm telling you right now, I have never heard an Aphex Twin song.
Oh man, because his new record is all right.
He's the greatest composer alive.
I'm not gonna.
He is.
I'm not getting on that boat, but.
I will make this pledge to you.
Yeah.
I will listen to an Aphex Twin
song my choosing.
Or an album of your choosing.
All right.
And come back and tell you about it next week.
But yeah, listen to the new one. So what Beef's saying, though, is really supports that cultural thing. Like, this shit's in the news because we fucking eat it up. We love it. We have an appetite for it.
I wanted to know what his name was. And because you know how I told you I was thinking all these groups are going to want him to be this or that, kind of person. I didn't have a dog in the race necessarily, but I just wanted to know. I wanted to know what this was. Is this a Muslim terrorist attack? Is this a...
You wanted him to be one of my Facebook friends?
Yeah, I wanted him to be you. Mark drove up to Oregon just to end it all.
Why is it happening here, man?
No, but
it's beyond any one issue. Like every
yeah.
side is oversimplifying it, and I was doing that a year ago. I was in that group. I might have been in that group 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And it's not simple, man. It's a big fucking problem. That's not just guns, man.
You know what sucks though? What happens when you be radical agnostic and you kind of open your mind and look at all the different. You drop out of the debate.
Yeah, have you seen me get in it at all? I haven't got in it with anybody about it, dude.
That's the thing. You can't engage in the debate because you got the two sides, and you're not on those sides.
I'm not on either one of your
sides. And
sides.
you're the guy coming in with a post that says, here's a list of facets that we believe are and no one, they just ignore it. They just call you, they might, both sides will probably make you the enemy because you didn't say that their issue was the only,
Because honestly, in essence, I think all three of us disagree with everybody. Well, with the two
major sides.
With the liberals, and we both disagree with both of them. Yeah. We all disagree with both of them is what it really sounds like to me. And that makes...
Well, we also agree with both of them on the issue they're promoting. We just don't think that should be the only issue.
Right. Right. With the issue that they're over-promoting.
Right.
And I don't even think the right's over-promoting anything. I think they're just so deep in the pockets of that industry. And like I said, like it's not for my liberal friends, you can point the finger at the NRA if you want, but they're not the big dark guys in the background that make the bombs and the guns.
No, but their influence over Congress is regrettable and should be curbed, as should all the lobbyists.
All lobby should be curbed.
I don't know if Bernie has a specific plan on that.
The one issue that I think the conservatives oversimplify and promote and make fucked up is the idea that they are for small government, because they're not for small government.
No.
They're for spending less money on certain services.
Right.
But they want to build a wall on the border that costs $800 billion. Are you small government?
Which they built, by the way, back in 2006 under George
Bush
W.
was building that.
He built that wall. It's not working so good.
So
why do you want to build it again?
What is Trump even talking about?
So
he wants a bigger wall?
Yeah, people
That's
forget.
the solution?
People forget. But, they say they want small government, but they want government controlling a lot of different sectors of your life. So how can it be small if it's still controlling you in a lot of other ways?
Yeah, they're selectively small government.
Well, and the things they point at as far as spending goes, they all pale in comparison to what they hand out in corporate welfare.
Yes.
Right.
There was a conservative meme that said,
at least give me a picture of the family I'm supporting.
No, it was nastier than that. It was when I pay my taxes, at least send me a picture of the ghetto family that I'm supporting. And so under that, they put pictures of stick figures that had Citibank, Walmart, and
GE.
Those were the ghetto people that your tax dollars are supporting. In other words,
the majority of them. Don't be fooled, and just do a little research and find the truth. It's not a liberal and conservative issue. It's that one. It's really a corporate corruption and government corruption issue. It's bad news.
But I have to put an addendum to that. Do some research, because doing research is good, but you have to make sure that the research you're doing is from credible sources.
Right,
yeah, for sure.
You have to go, especially when on the internet.
And therein lies the hard part.
And I'm not even going to tell you who credible sources are. You should do that yourself. Figure it out. Critical thinking, please, people. But see where this is coming from.
At least,
what is this website's agenda?
Yeah.
What are they pro or
what's their fucking mission statement?
Or at least, what is their bias?
At the very least, research extreme views on both sides, because they will give you some facts. Each one will give you some facts and ignore a bunch of other facts.
There'll be shit when you lay them on top of each other that lines up, and then you can pull the top off and be like, okay, these are the things that line up from both sides.
DNA,
so let's go from there, and then find some more stories from places like you talked, like PolitiFact and organizations like that.
The Radical Agnostic.
As many sources as you can. You find stuff that overlaps that where you can say, okay, these are probably facts because both sides agree on them.
Right.
Joe Rogan had this guy on this week as a flamboyantly gay guy who's a hardcore conservative. He just hates liberalism and he hates feminism especially. So there's he's got what do you call it, Mark? He's got some kind of he's got credibility because he's gay. He's got a special pass, in other words.
Right.
So if you're a man and you
he's speaking from experience, so.
If you're a man,
how can it be so bad?
Right? Yeah, he's been oppressed. So, if you're a man and you denigrate feminism, there's only so many people who will listen to you. They're just going to say you're a misogynist. But if you're a gay man you got some extra wiggle room.
Which makes no sense to me, because if you're a gay man, it's even more obvious
you don't
that
like
you
women.
don't like women.
Exactly.
Right?
And this
like
guy,
men who are heterosexual should fight more for feminism. Be like, no, I like women. I love women.
Right.
I want them to, be
Brian's
having a
taken
good time.
that approach before.
But
I always fight for women, man. I'm like that's
So-
why it pissed me off so bad to get called out on being an asshole and a misogynist, because I'm
but-
anything fucking but.
right, but that's the liberals' fault when they basically take all oppressed people and throw them into one basket and say all of these people are like-minded and together because they've all been oppressed by someone. It's like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's different.
Just because you were oppressed does not mean that you get along. Guess what? The KKK, most societies or communities in this country, they are oppressed.
Right.
People don't like the KKK. If you take them and you take Black Panthers, which would probably be the same oppressed, and put them together, they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, we're both oppressed. We get along. Hey, how you doing, neighbor?
Right.
So
Exactly.
hard to argue that.
And, no, you're right. It is a liberal thing, because the very idea that this guy should have more of a voice because he's gay about criticizing feminism, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, and that's a liberal thing. Liberals are afraid to criticize gay people, in other words.
Well, they're afraid to criticize certain segments. Like, they're not afraid to criticize KKK and other organizations like that because they feel that they are
they're afraid
trying to oppress other people. So if you're actively trying to oppress people, then it's okay that you are oppressed.
Right. Which makes some sense.
Now, gay people, majority-wise, aren't trying to oppress anyone.
Right.
But there are some people, just like there's some feminists, that are, like, if you talk to them, go like, all men should be killed, should have their cocks chopped off, and,
So, this guy was a rabid men's rights activist. And there's this thing called MGTOW. Have you seen this? It's in capital letters, MGTOW. It means men going their own way. And it's a group of men's rights activists.
So in other words, the status quo.
What?
So in other words, the status quo.
Yeah.
What we've always done. Yeah. Shit going according to plan.
Do what the hell I want.
Yeah, I'm a grown man. I do what I want.
Yeah.
All right, yeah,
Pretty
that
much.
sounds smart. Men going their own way.
But they're these milksops who they hate feminism, and so they're the opposite of it, or they're not.
It's
so,
probably true. You probably are the opposite of it.
Yeah. So
well, and that's another little weird fucking
wrinkle,
mental whatever. People that hate something and then they spend their whole entire fucking life railing against it,
talking about it, thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about it.
Writing
what
about
is
it,
that?
reading about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And my kind of point was, this is kind of politically incorrect, but my whole thing, the reason I don't support men's rights activists and MGTOW is just, to me, it's not masculine to get involved in this at all. Like it's masculine to listen to everyone's opinion, the feminists and everyone else, and then just go off and have your opinion about it.
John, are you kind of saying, what are you crying about, you fucking sissy?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, stop whining. Suck it up. Put your big boy pants on and get back on the playground.
Now, that's controversial because I would seem to be implying that to complain is feminine. And, I don't know if I'm saying that or not, but anyway.
I let me clarify this for you. I think what you're saying is to complain in a group is feminine. To complain singularly and maybe silently by yourself is masculine.
And in a good way.
I would
and in a
agree
good
with
way
that.
because collective action has made our society an okay place to live.
You can't affect change without it.
And to call the liberal classical liberalism itself, to call that feminine, is a great compliment to the feminine. I'm happy to give that whole value system to the feminine impulse in people. So that shouldn't really be that controversial. Like what you said, collective action is feminine. It doesn't mean it's for women. I always want to clarify, feminine doesn't mean woman. Every man has some degree of femininity in him. Some men have more femininity than masculinity.
Fags.
So there are trends. But there are general trends, in other words. So that's all I mean by masculine and feminine. No person is totally masculine or totally feminine. And feminine doesn't mean women.
And if you are, you're probably locked up somewhere because you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, you're probably
you're
living in a cabin.
Because there's no balance.
Yeah, no balance. You're just all one thing.
Yeah.
Like we talked about that guy when Bryan and I went backpacking in the Sierra, and there was a grave of this old
Alfred Monnier.
Is it a miner, a scout?
A shepherd.
A shepherd.
They call it Dead Man's Canyon.
Of course he was a shepherd.
And he just lived up there by himself. And
And the sheep.
Yeah, right. There's ways to get your sow your wild oats.
And Beav, the show just took a turn for the weird. Because as soon as sheep get involved.
But these are the guys who live by themselves for 6 months, and then they see a hiker and they're annoyed by him. They don't want to talk to anyone. They're like, shut up. They don't. They don't. Yeah, that's masculine gone nuts.
But I also think it's a psychological thing too. Like I made that quote, and I think it was maybe Abe mentioned it to me about loneliness is dangerous because it can be addictive.
Right.
And I'm not sure that's exclusively a masculine thing. One of the girls I talked to on the trail out there, who was tough as fuck, by the way, 39 days out by herself. Before we saw her, she broke her hand. Definitely broke her hand. It was fucked up. Jeff helped her rewrap it. And the weird thing was, she's like, I'm supposed to hike out in 2 days to meet my boyfriend. He's coming out from West Texas. He's going to finish the last part of the hike with me. And that gives me time to go to the hospital and get this checked out and see how bad it is. And I'm not going to tell my mom until after I get out because she'll freak out. And so when she walked away, I told Christine, I said, notice never once did she talk about breaking off her hike or that
it's insane.
Like she missed him. She was out here for 39 days by herself. And
I would have been gone.
Just think about doing a hike for 39 days by yourself.
39 days with 5
Maybe her
10
boyfriend's
people.
a douchebag.
Why don't dude? Honestly, man, I think if you're the kind of guy who's dating a girl who's like her, you're probably not a douchebag.
Yeah,
because everything,
or maybe you're a douchebag and you made her like that,
and that's why she's out there by herself.
No, he had stuff to do, Mark.
Yeah, I think he was doing summer school. Honestly,
see,
but
we'll finish up soon, but I'm not too worried about time because do you have time?
I'm good. I told her 4.
It's the 30th episode, so I figure
it's more drinking. It's good, man.
30 hours.
I think I can't believe we're still trying.
30 hours on the 30th episode.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I think what's weird. I think we've transitioned beyond we didn't talk about gun control today. We talked about the mass shooting thing.
We talked about gun control,
but we talked about the mass shooting thing, how it applies to that. Not a separate issue.
But there was very little screaming.
And we wouldn't be talking if we were just retreading old stuff. We would be bored, right? We wouldn't keep bringing it up. So I'm just thinking the listeners they probably get something out of it when we mention it again because we keep. And if you listen to these in order, did you listener? Did you get something out of it?
You listen to? We need to come to your house.
Don't you think
explain this?
You would see a progression in our views and stuff.
I think especially
like our early conversations were way more oppositional.
I think my.
Mark, have you come around to anything yet in your life? Have you changed your mind ever?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you would see my opinions, especially if you talked about First, Second Amendment stuff and where I'm at now. Like I've thought about it in a lot bigger,
and me too,
broader perspective, and I feel like I actually understand it now where I didn't before, but I don't understand this mass shooting phenomenon. I don't.
I used to only like mustard on hot dogs.
Now you're cool with.
Now I like ketchup better.
What about relish? Where are you at with that?
Liberal.
I used to like relish a lot with mustard, and I like it with ketchup. But
what if it's like a red pepper relish, like a hot
red pepper relish is good.
You haven't said that you dislike any of these ingredients in any combination.
No, I don't dislike. But no, right. But I'm just saying, I used to not eat hot dogs with ketchup at all. Like I would never have ketchup.
Were you angry at people who did, like East Coast people?
No, I wasn't angry. Like, and I was born in Chicago, but I didn't I've never really gave a fuck what somebody else does unless it affects my life.
It's big of you concerning hot dogs, man, because that's a touchy issue.
It is. Same thing with thick crust or thin crust.
Well, cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs.
Okay, so how often? Now I'm standing up for the cat people.
Of course you
An
are.
awesome old movie, by the way. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Natasha Kinski.
Both. Well,
Nice.
Before you were born, probably.
They're
When I was
the
young.
old movie, black and white, and then the remake
80s.
in the 80s.
Yeah.
They're both good movies.
So how often do you hear... Okay, let me just put it like this. Do you hear more... Have you heard more in your life? People who say, I hate dogs, or people who say, I hate cats.
Cats.
Bam. You know it's true. You know it's true, Mark.
Because dogs are better people.
Now, dogs have their virtues, and I don't think cats are superior to dogs. I mean, except in evolutionary terms and physical. Of course, they are in every scientific way. But I'm not going to say they are.
Wild dogs, the most efficient hunters on the earth.
Okay, but match up any breed of dog versus a cat of the same weight. Who wins that fight every single time?
Well, the dogs are in packs, so the dogs are going to win. Because that's how they operate. That's their nature. They're pack animals. So one cat, same size against a pack of dogs, no chance. Man.
Have you seen that?
Got me.
Well, what you need to see, and I'll send you a link if you haven't, is that video of the cat fighting the crocodile or alligator.
I saw that.
See that?
Well, the short
the
one,
jaguar,
right? Where it
Yeah,
just ran into the water.
No, it's a house cat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
House
right.
cat.
No fear. I saw that thing. That's a badass fucking cat.
Why is that cat so stupid?
Because I think Reggie at that point is history, man. As soon as that thing hisses, Reggie's gone, dude.
Because Reggie doesn't have that razor sharp claw to hit the nose with.
No, he doesn't.
Although, how could an alligator even feel that through that leathery skin?
Nah, moose might tear him up though. Bite him on his face and hold it shut. Shake him.
you're
My
Gracie
pity.
girl.
My pity.
Yeah, that cat ran up and just did the slow approach, and then gave him a bat on the nose to an alligator. Alligator pops up so fast you wouldn't believe it, and just runs into the lake.
So let me go there, because this is a subject that's gotten kind of dear to my heart in the last 2 years. What about cats versus pit bulls?
In what terms? What's the
Hated.
comparison?
How come?
Hated?
So,
yeah, pit bulls,
well,
man.
this is the weird thing. So people will differentiate their hate for dogs. They'll be like, I hate pit bulls, or I hate, German shepherds,
Yeah.
or I hate
But cats just
People
get
don't
lumped
do
into
about
one.
cats.
Yeah,
It's
just
like,
lump
I
it
hate
in.
cats.
Well, that makes sense.
Okay, but let's
that
talk-
makes sense
I
because
hate Siamese.
the genetic diversity
All
of cats
Siamese.
is so much
all
smaller.
Manxes.
The genetic diversity is so much smaller in cats than it is in dogs. In dogs,
But
you have a
but there is
Yeah,
genetic
but it's
diversity.
minuscule
Barely.
I
compared
hate
to dogs.
calicos. I'm just saying.
But it's
that's why.
but it's
because
mostly
they're not
down-
different enough
yeah.
to generate hate of one and not
It's
another.
mostly down to coat differences.
Yeah.
Very few physical differences.
Yeah.
And
The
there's
Maine
huge
Coon-
physical differences in dogs.
The Maine Coon is the biggest cat
But
breed, and then there's some little guys.
That's something I find to be a very controversial topic that we've never talked about is breed specific legislation.
Yeah.
Things like so. 'Cause
Now
I would say
let
this.
me-
I've known a lot of pit bulls, and I have one that ran up in my yard, and she wouldn't leave. And I was supposed to
Great
take her
dog.
to let it be known. I was supposed to take her to the pound, and she was so sweet that I couldn't do it. She's so gentle with my little dog. She's not the alpha. She gets bullied ruthlessly by our Chihuahua, also a squatter. They just showed up in my. I never wanted no damn Chihuahuas. I never wanted no pit bulls. They're like Tucson cliches. Can we agree on that?
Oh yeah.
Chihuahuas and pit bulls are like
Especially pit bulls.
Tucson cliches. I remember when I got Gracie, you said, "Oh shit, now you can never leave Tucson." And you're half right, because there's so many places that have breed-specific legislation against these dogs. And this is another very emotional issue for people, because they're like, oh, a lot of dogs bite people.
Right.
Pit bulls just have really strong bites, and they're strong dogs.
So okay.
So let me just say one thing. How come you've never seen about Chihuahuas and pit bulls being, in Tucson
A Tucson
predominantly?
cliche.
Tucson cliche.
A
How
mix.
come you've never seen a mix between Chihuahuas and pit bulls?
The Chewit
Well,
bull.
it's a weird.
Yeah.
There's
That's
physics
just-
involved in that.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
things
But
aren't
But
going
it
to
can
fit.
happen.
That Gracie's back legs.
There's miniature Dobermans.
Well,
yeah,
Mark,
but they're not
miniature
actually
Dobermans,
related
right?
to the Doberman, though.
They're not?
No, they're not
but-
actually genetically related
But
to
Mark,
the
if
Doberman.
the Chihuahua was a female,
Oof, not
that's
happening.
That's not happening.
And if it's a male, how's he going to take that ride? Gracie's
Yeah.
crazy. She's flipping around like a lunatic.
It
Like,
would just be-
she has very little control over her body when she gets happy. She's so stupid, dude, that she will whip herself in the face with her own tail while you're petting her.
Yeah.
She tries to turn around and like be petted and lick you at the same time, and she's beating herself in the face with her tail.
Now,
but what I'm saying is, this is out of all my dogs ever, she's the sweetest and the most gentle dog.
She's the best. I love her.
And
now here's the thing,
so
Bryan.
hated.
Let's do radical agnostic on this, because pit bulls are hated by huge numbers of people.
Well, right now, currently, and for the last.
Right, they've taken the place of the shepherd dogs,
the German Shepherd,
and the Rottweiler,
the Doberman,
and the Rottweiler.
Yeah.
They've all been in this
the
boat
80s
before.
and 90s. Those were the dogs you were afraid of.
Right.
Now it's pit bulls, and now everyone's like, "Oh, German Shepherds, they're so smart. They're so nice."
Yeah.
So
and they're still snappy and unaffectionate and asshole dogs. Shepherds are assholes, man.
See, you're being breed specific. Now, here's the thing.
They're jerks, though. They are, man. Like Jeff the other night was saying, "Oh, Bonnie she doesn't get as much attention because she's an older dog." Bonnie never wanted the attention. She's an aloof shepherd. They're aloof.
So
that's what I should say about them.
Oh, okay.
They're aloof.
So you have people discriminating, as it were, against pit bulls. Now you have a big reactionary movement to that, trying to say, "Hey, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. If you raise them right, they're going to act
They're good
right."
dogs, man.
Right. So that's a very fair argument. Now, what about all the stories that you hear? Now, a lot of this is blown up, but here in my personal life, let's talk about a friend of yours from the past, Jay, we'll call him, and I dog sat his five pit bulls. Now, I'm not a dog guy, but he told me how to do it. It was for a few days. I would stay there and feed them and make sure they all got their bowl. And these are big dogs, and there's a lot of food to be put out. And
they were all about 60, 70 pound dogs. Right? They were big dogs.
And I, as a cat guy, didn't know how to control dogs, but I have a good instinct for it. You just show them who's boss. You be strong and everything. And so
you kind of have to with that breed too.
Yeah.
You have to let them fucking know.
Have you seen that video of the
little
girl feeding like the 10 or 12 pit bulls?
And they just sit,
and she just
feeds
pours the food
all out of
on
one
the
pile.
floor. No bowls. Just pours it all in a big
Have you
pile
seen
of
it, dude?
No.
And
Because she owns them.
And they wait.
They're sitting down and they're all taller than her.
Right.
And she owns the whole room, and they listen to her, every one of her commands, and they're like, "Yeah, bad dogs."
Now, but with this person, like a month later, the dogs got in a fight, and one of the dogs was killed.
He died later, but
Now,
you're glad you didn't have to see that. Too,
I am so glad.
He was fucked up.
I would have thought it was my fault, and everyone else would have thought
I'm
that too.
I'm the one who grabbed because he had a dog sitter when that happened.
Yeah.
And
now then we have people like Brent. He's had to shoot 2 dogs in his life now, of his own dogs, because they were got into some fracas that they would not stop, and they were one was killing the other. Now, in his defense, he has since specified that was his fault. Brent has said that was my fault. I did not know how to control the breed and do everything. So I'll give that too. But so I asked you this one time, and you gave me a really good answer. Why is it that it seems like so many pit bulls are getting into these life or death struggles? What's going on here? And you said it's not that they're more aggressive or violent or vicious. It's that once they start fighting, they're bred to continue.
They don't back down.
They don't back down, and they'll go for the kill.
They don't take backward steps.
Right.
They're really strong dogs, and once they're in a fight or flight, they're better at fighting than most dogs. They break down. They go for their, like you hear people who used to fight dogs talk about leg dogs. Their bite's so strong, and when you look at the muscles in there, there's that story, and the dog was just on The View, where there was a guy, and it's New York, I guess, somewhere by the Accents, and they come home, and there's a FedEx guy, a guy dressed like a FedEx dude in the building, and then he ends up knocking on their door. And he says, "Hey, I see you got a big dog. They make me kind of nervous. Can you put it away? Like my scanner's broken. I need you to sign for this. Do you have a pen?" So when the dude goes to open the door, he breaks in. He's trying to break in. So the guy's fighting him at the door, trying to shove him back out. And they hadn't put the dog away. The girlfriend was just holding the dog. Now it's a 12-year-old pit bull named, I think his name's Kilo. Yeah, that's his name. He's a 12-year-old. Sweet dog. So he sees his dad fighting at the fucking door, and she runs to the kitchen to get a knife, because they don't have a gun, because it's New York, and to help her man fight this dude off who's trying to break in. And the dog, when he's let go, he rushes the guy, and he gets shot in the fucking head. And so the burglar runs away because the dog's still on him, and when it stops, the guy's holding the dog. It's such a sad story, and he's like, the girl's like, just hold him, let him go peacefully. And the guy's like, no, I'm fucking taking him to the vet. I'm going now. Like, I can save him. So when they get to the vet, these dogs have so much fucking muscle on their head
and skull
that
density.
it hit that muscle on the top of their skull, and you can feel it so solidly when you pet Gracie.
Yeah.
And it slowed it down enough to where it grazed off his skull and came out his neck. And it never hit anything really vital. So he's all right. I mean, he's all swollen. He's all right. But they're really super protective dogs. I didn't hear Gracie bark for 3 months until somebody looked threatening outside the house. It was a cable guy who just came up and started looking at our box unannounced, and she started barking, and it kind of freaked me out. And she still won't bark unless Reggie makes a certain kind of bark. And then she comes to the fence. Like if he's at the fence barking at somebody and then they do something aggressive and he barks in kind of alarm, then she comes to protect him.
Well, and I'm not disputing what you're saying at all, but at the same time, that's not all pit bulls.
No.
And because pit bulls that I've had will bark because they're happy. They're happy to see you. You got home, and they're at the door and like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
She makes these awesome Chewbacca noises.
Yeah,
like
I
I get that.
Yeah.
So, and same thing with them fighting. The last pit bull that I lived with was the son of this other pit bull that another guy had that came to live with us, and they fought maybe once or twice, and it was usually over like a toy ball or something.
Right, toy aggression or possessiveness.
But it was, and maybe this was because the son knew that he was submissive to the father, and so it didn't last a long time. But basically, it was just they'd get in a fight, and you'd scream and yell at them, grab them, and it'd be over.
Yeah, as soon as I raise my voice, Gracie stops whatever she's doing.
Yeah, well.
But so then on the other side of it, though, I did see a video the other day of these two pit mix. They were definitely pit mixes running around this park just fucking tearing people up, dude.
Biting people?
They had a guy they first went after these two little girls, and the little girls climbed up this little climbing wall, and it was scary, dude. Like, the one girl her sister looked like she was sliding off, and she was trying hard to fucking hold on to her, and these guys came to help her, and the dude was on top of a picnic table, fairly well mauled. He was bit up. His legs, he had blood running all down his legs. And
so hard to fight a dog like that.
Well,
big.
two.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the video was like 7 minutes long, and they were very coordinated together. Like, they would work together. They would wait to attack, and like guys were trying to fend them off with rakes or different things.
Yeah.
And then when the firemen came and were spraying them with hoses, they when they would get separated, they would back off, and when they would get together, they would get aggressive again.
Yeah.
And what was really cool is the guys up on the table. He's bit to shit. And they're coming after him, and they're like, we're coming to get you. And he's like, get them girls, get those little girls, you know?
Yeah.
And when they started spraying the dogs ran away from him towards the girls, and he's like, dude, keep them away from the girls. And eventually the cop shot one of the dogs. And Christine's like, I was watching the video, and she's like, oh, my God, who's killing that dog? And I'm like, I got to tell you, baby, he earned it.
Yeah.
Like, the cop was swinging at him with the baton, and
I'm sorry, to me that's
he
obvious.
tried so hard not to shoot him, dude, and at the last minute they were both rushing him. He like, it was an afterthought, dude. He dropped his baton, he pulled his gun, he shot the one dog.
I would have shot him before the baton.
And then they stopped, and I think honestly he could have shot him a long time before he did.
I would have shot him right away.
If I would have walked
unless
up,
he was just laying there and being nice, but if he was still growling and I would have shot him.
If I was the cop, honestly, I would have shot him a long time before he did.
Yeah,
both of them, honestly.
Yeah.
So. But I'm going to say that my dog would never do that. And people are like, you don't know that for a fact. And I'm going to tell you that you're full of shit. Yeah, I do. My dog would never do that. But even if she got out, she would never do that.
Cat hatred is just through the roof still, though. And it's just unreasonable.
But there's no place that says, but there's no city that says you can't have a cat.
No.
And there are cities that say you can't have a pit bull.
No, I know.
Well, and the cat hatred isn't at the same level as pit bull hatred. Like, people who hate pit bulls don't hate, there aren't the same. There isn't a kind of person that hates cats like that.
Well, enough to advocate legislation against them.
There's a lot of people who will say violent stuff about cats.
Well, there's a lot of people
I saw a cat, I would just throw him in the road.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who do violent stuff to cats.
Yeah, all the time.
So.
But those are just fucking.
But I mean, there's not people that hate him enough.
There's
not people that hate him enough to organize to pass specific legislation against a cat.
No.
Like, there's no town in Massachusetts where they're like, can't have a cat if you live here.
No, there
you know, can't move into your apartment if you have a cat.
Their hair gets everywhere.
I don't know.
But I'm going to say again, like to me,
you can say I'm afraid of pit bulls and I think they're bad, but in America, you cannot say I hate dogs. You can't say I hate dogs.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
There's plenty of people that you've said it, haven't you?
No, and because I don't hate dogs, I like dogs. And
No,
Paul and I we're in continuing discussions as to what kind of dog we will eventually get once we have.
I don't think
what are we talking about?
We want a bigger.
I don't think
dog.
we've reached the level of police state yet where if you say you hate
I'm not
dogs,
saying
you get
they'll
locked
arrest
up.
you. I'm saying in the popular
It's
culture.
un-American, goddammit.
You can't say. No one
It's
says I
un-American.
hate dogs.
Because it's not American to say that.
It's
That's
just
why.
funny.
America.
It's just funny to say I hate cats. Everyone's like, oh, that's cool.
I'm not a cat person.
Yeah. I hate cats. No, even those words. If you say, I hate cats, everyone's like, oh, cool. If you say I hate dogs, you'll get your email will get blown. You'll get death threats from Bryan's wife.
Well, that's what Hillary's team should cook up then for Sanders.
She's big on cats.
Bernie
though.
Sanders has
hates
said
dogs.
that he hates dogs.
Like if my mom wasn't definitely allergic to cats,
And ice cream.
we'd have one. I wanted to steal Mika's cat the other night. She has this big, badass black and white puma. He's huge, man. He has one of those half black, half white faces. It's like right down the middle. He looks like a fox terrier, only a cat.
I just love.
Maybe that's why I like him, because he reminds me of a dog.
I love just watching them do anything.
Well, they're super graceful.
Yeah. Well, until they're not.
Yeah.
They do clumsy stuff. And it's funny.
And it's fun. It is funny because you expect it from the dog. Like dogs are dumb. Like they roll over on their back and fall off the couch, and then they're looking at you like, "What the fuck happened?"
Yeah. Well, all right, folks. We have the great Pope debate concerning his meeting with Kim Davis, but that's another thing that Mark and I will discuss cordially and with an open mind, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
And
the Popey,
El Papa, La Papa,
the papal visit to Kim Davis.
But we don't have time today. And then
What?
And you want that?
Yeah,
Brian
because
has to go.
easy.
I got about 15 minutes.
Let me just give you my shorts, what I am talking about, because I think pretty much you cannot argue with what I'm saying. Okay, I don't have an opinion about the Pope. I think that the Catholic Church as an institution has been an institution that has done a lot of fucked up shit.
Correct.
The current Pope
Fact.
might be the greatest person in the world. I don't know him. I'm only commenting about him as a Pope, as the head of the Catholic Church.
Right.
Now, I know that he is more progressive than the last Pope,
Right.
who was Nazi youth.
Or any
So
other
it's not
Pope.
really that hard. Well, I don't know all the popes. I don't know the history of every single pope ever,
the last
and how
one-
progressive any
The one
pope
before was John Paul II. We know his record very well. And the one before that was involved in the Nazi thing. So he wasn't very liberal either.
But so the Pope has the current Pope. Well, and then, first let me say that this all stems from and is in reaction to people posting on Facebook, the media reports, blah, blah, blah. Everyone talking about how great and progressive this Pope is and how wonderful he is. And now they are surprised that he met with Kim Davis.
Right.
And somehow this has changed their opinion of him, and they just can't believe that he did that. And how did he betray their trust? And when
it's obvious that
all
a
this stuff.
head of the Catholic Church would support someone who was denying gay. Of course they would.
Well, and that's
right?
what I'm saying is he has come out and said he is not for gay marriage.
Right.
He thinks the legalization of gay marriage is going to destroy the family.
Right.
He has come out and said that. That's a fact. He has also come out and said that people have the right and freedom to be conscientious objectors
to the law,
not do what they feel.
Shouldn't do things
anything
they feel are
that
immoral.
they feel immoral.
Right.
And it includes government officials. He was asked, does that include government? Well, he said, well, it's a human right. So if those government officials are humans, then yes, they have that right. So guess what, people? He supports Kim Davis doing what she did. Now, he might think that for himself it's wrong and he wouldn't do that, but he thinks what she did is okay. And he supports her in doing that. Okay, so that's what we've come to. Now, more facts. He met with her. He did meet with her. It's not a surprise. Did they try to keep it a secret? until after he was gone. Yes, they did try to keep it a secret and try to keep it under wraps until after he was gone. Have they said stuff henceforth, trying to deny it and play it down? Yes, they have. They've come out and said, "Oh no, he didn't. Well, no, he didn't really plan on meeting her. He didn't know who she was. Somebody else set it up for him.
Right.
Blah blah blah." And it's just like, okay, he's a public figure.
Yeah.
He has a PR firm working for him. They know that this.
You're going to tell me that the Pope, he doesn't have a TV. He didn't know who Kim Davis was. She was in the fucking news, man. Like,
no, Brian, I mean...
How disconnected is the Pope from the news?
He lives in Italy, dude. It's not... The Kim Davis story is not all over the news.
And not only does he live in Italy, but he's from Argentina. So he's from Argentina,
been to America,
and then he lives in Italy.
Now.
So even if he wanted to pick up a paper, he doesn't speak Italian. He speaks Argentinian.
No, I think he does. I think
so he wouldn't know how to even fucking read it.
They speak Spanish.
And then he's watching.
They speak Spanish there, and he does speak Italian because he lives in fucking Rome, so he had to learn.
Well, there's a lot of Italians in Argentina too, for whatever reason. Like they got a lot of
a lot of Germans too.
Well, because my sister-in-law, her husband is from Argentina, but they identify as Italians.
But anyways,
I said there's a lot of them down there.
I don't even.
My point is the idea that somehow this Pope doesn't support her, doesn't support what she did, thinks it's utterly horrible that what she did, would not, under normal circumstances, have met her, would not want to meet her, would not, all these kinds of things. It's just ridiculous. When people are like, oh no, it can't. I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't true. I knew that he got somehow set up.
I'm going to take this in a whole nother direction.
And my argument is,
I don't know. What is your argument?
You're pretty much right about it.
I'm going to take this in a whole other direction with the conscientious objector thought that the Pope himself brought up. And the liberals who hate Kim Davis, they'd be totally cool with a soldier who was a conscientious objector and refused to kill the enemy, wouldn't they?
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Both sides would be selective about that. But
you'd be totally cool with that.
Yep.
About a guy not doing the job.
I know.
For the federal government that he was fucking hired and volunteered to do.
Right, all those memes that were like, this guy did his job anyway.
But then the one thing
you just want her to not do her. You want her to do her job because you agree with gay marriage.
But see, the one thing that's different is that if you were in the army and you were a conscientious objector and so did not want to kill someone, they would go send you to some other department or make you a medic or something else. They would give you. They would not have you in the infantry or going out with their gun to do this stuff. Right. If you said, I'm not going to do that. Which Kim Davis still wants to do her job, that's part of her job.
Right.
It's not like, I can't do my job, so I'm not going to do this, but go assign me to do this stuff, and I'll do this stuff, but I don't want to do that.
Right.
It's I still want to do this, and I still want to be this person. It's like, no, you step down.
Yeah, because if she doesn't, before the judge's ruling that the deputy officials could sign the documents, if she didn't want to marry a gay couple, that gay couple wasn't getting married in that county.
Right.
Period. So exactly, her little scruple was preventing other people's freedom to do something that the law says they can do.
And then I'll take that even further and say, and guess what? It's basically a non-issue because any gay couples that wanted to get married under Kim Davis in that county and she would deny them, how big is this county? Go drive a fucking half hour into the next county and get married there. Guess what? Then you're paying your money in that county instead of the other county, and then that county is going to miss out on how much money, revenue from marriage licenses. And then eventually the government's going to be like, you know what? This lady's costing us fucking money.
I disagree.
Get her the fuck
she
out.
should be compelled to follow the law. She should be compelled to do that or quit.
I'm just saying it's really kind of a non-issue.
Yeah.
If they want to go drive to the next county,
it's a matter of principle.
Still can't.
It's a matter of principle.
You could do what all people who love their friends and are getting married do, which is get married in Las Vegas.
Right.
That's what all people who love their friends do. They get married in Las Vegas.
The best destination wedding.
Yeah.
I also sent a note to Bernie Sanders urging him to pledge to be a one-term president But we can talk more about that next time, and maybe
I thought
he'll
we were
respond
going to
to
get through
me.
a whole show without talking about Bernie Sanders. I knew you would get it in there by the end. You would get
I
some
wrote him a
burn.
note, and I'm hoping that he writes me back.
Yeah.
Sounds like a love-struck teenager with me. I want him to write me back. Do you like me? Check
I am.
yes or
Yes
no.
or no.
I am, and that's where Mark comes in because he hates the enthusiasm. He hates that there's enthusiasm, and he sees it as blind worship.
No,
and he sees it as his God-given role.
I'm telling you that
quench,
look at his
to
face. He
quench
was-
the fires of enthusiasm wherever they
No,
may
I don't-
burn.
No,
Anything
really,
that anyone cares about has to be destroyed. You're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite.
It's really about.
You support Bernie Sanders,
really
but
about
you didn't
my-
support Tim Sanders in 1845.
It's really about
so you're
my-
a hypocrite. You don't always support Sanders's.
It's really about my love for you, John, and just seeing you get disappointed again.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
Which I very
You
well
know,
might.
it's like watching your daughter
Yeah.
date loser after loser after loser after loser.
Oh, God.
See, that was the day that I begged beef for mercy. I'm like, please stop trolling me, man. I can't. I'm not ready. I can't do it.
In
You're
other
killing
words,
me.
from now on, you want me to call you Daddy.
It's a start.
Thank you for listening. That was the 30th episode spectacular. This is a good show. I don't care what you people think. Our claim to fame is losing one listener every week. Yeah! You're fired! Thank you all. I love you guys, and we'll be back next time. Later.